The Throne of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 276, Revenge Night. Xia Xingchen returned to the Tangyang and officially began the modification of the Dragon Rider mech. He quickly disassembled the mech into its basic components, and then took the newly built parts to reassemble the mech. Then he programmed the mech at a speed that shocked everyone, and completed the compilation of the operating system in just 2 hours. Generally speaking, it takes at least 20 hours for a very skilled mech operating system programmer to write an operating system for a brand new mech. The operating systems of mass-produced mechas and general mech factories are completed by flashing the machine. After the operating system is written, it can be tested. Xia Xingchen plugged the plug of the detector into the detection interface and started running the mech detection program. A few minutes later, several large green characters, "All systems are normal," appeared on the mech maintenance operation table, causing cheers from the onlookers. Xia Xingchen unplugged the detection instrument, sat in the cockpit, and closed the cockpit door. He first set the painting program, and the mechanical arm on the mech maintenance operation table began to spray, and he set the driving habits and parameters of the mech in the cockpit. He restarted the mecha's operating system, and a few big words appeared on the display screen of the mecha. "Please name the mecha." Xia Xingchen thought about it and typed in, "Revenge Night." Then a series of dialog windows popped up, and Xia Xingchen entered important data such as the startup password, self-destruct password, and mecha identification code in turn, and then entered parameters such as driving habits. After all the input work was completed, Xia Xingchen restarted the mecha. At this time, the painting work on the outside of the mecha had been completed. In the past, the Dragon Rider flying general mecha had a huge flywheel, so Xia Xingchen used grey and blue paint to give the opponent a huge sense of oppression. Now the mecha has been slimmed down and is completely different from before. Xia Xingchen used red as the main color, with a small amount of white, and some key parts of the mecha were painted golden. The red color is to commemorate Freya. Freya likes red the most. Her Bloody Queen mecha, her room, and her combat uniform are all mainly red. The white on the mecha represents Xia Xingchen's Desert Knight mecha on Watchstar. The display of the mecha lit up again, and Xia Xingchen pressed the start button. The KLB-3 controlled nuclear fusion nuclear energy engine of the mecha made a humming sound, and the golden indicator light on the mecha's eyes also lit up, and the crowd cheered again. Since this is the center of the Galactic Empire, this space area is subject to strict space flight control, so Xia Xingchen did not go outside for a test flight. He walked out of the cockpit. Zuo Lehen greeted him. "Xingchen, I see why it is different from your drawings. Did you change it again?" Mr. Zuo is really a discerning person. To be honest, I did make some adjustments in some parts. A few days ago, Qin Ren asked me to go for special training in martial arts. As a result, my mental strength level increased by 1 level. That, so I installed some more things. 2 more heavy floating guns. Yes, Mr. Zuo, this is the design drawing. Xingchen handed a reader in his hand to Mr. Zuo, who looked at it carefully. Revenge Night mecha, height 5.5 meters. Parameters, strength 36, agility 36, defense 40 to speed 46. The power system of the mecha is the latest KLB-3 controlled nuclear fusion engine produced by Krupp Industrial Group. Only 3 such engines have been produced in the world. All the thrusters on the mecha have been replaced with red light thrusters. In the past, due to the flywheel of the Dragoon system, the main thrusters on the back of the mecha were 6 small red light thrusters. Now Xia Xingchen has replaced them with 2 medium-sized red light engines and 4 small red light thrusters, which has increased the thruster output power of the mecha by 60% at once, and the instantaneous acceleration of the mecha has increased by a large margin. When the mecha was designed, the mechanism components of the mecha were designed with the design of the fighting mecha. This time, Xia Xingchen once again replaced some of the supporting components with a stronger alloy, so that the mecha can withstand greater impact in battle. The weapon system of the mecha is still two twin-mounted laser rapid-fire cannons on the shoulders, but now the power of these two laser cannons and rapid-fire cannons is much stronger than the previous two cannons. The back of the mecha is Xia Xingchen's latest modified Dragoon system. But this is no longer the traditional Dragoon system, because it does not have the iconic flywheel of the traditional Dragoon system, nor does it have the control light brain of the Dragoon. It is completely controlled by the mecha master himself. Moreover, the floating gun equipped with the GLONASS system can also be transformed into a light sword. At the suggestion of Zuo Lao, Xia Xingchen applied for a patent for this design and renamed the system Flying Sword System. As Xia Xingchen's mental power level increased, the number of mental power clones that can be controlled also increased by 2, so Xia Xingchen installed 2 small heavy floating guns above the flying wings of the mecha. These 2 floating guns are not large in size and are slender cones, but the main body of the gun body is 2 heavy laser guns. Each floating gun can fire 5 heavy lasers and can leave the body for 30 seconds. These 2 special floating guns can be used as sniper rifles to attack opponents unexpectedly. In addition, there are the Liuho mecha rifle and the 2 light swords on the waist of the mecha. The elbows, knees, and feet of the mecha each have a retractable light blade, which can be said to be armed to the teeth. The armor and protection system of the Revenge Knight mecha are also commendable. Many vital parts are made of Nim 186 alloy, which greatly enhances the ability to resist attacks. There are mental shields on the left and right forearms of the mecha. There are also 4 light shield systems on the mecha. After looking at the parameters, Mr. Zuo smiled. Okay, there is nothing wrong with the changes, and it is very thoughtful. The mecha is good, so I can't go empty-handed. I want to give you a gift. I believe you will like it, Xingchen. Xia Xingchen named the modified and upgraded mecha the Revenge Knight, and the exterior of the mecha was painted red to commemorate Freya. Mr. Zuo Leheng said he would give Xia Xingchen a gift. He clapped his hands, and 2 mecha repairmen controlled the mechanical arm to transport a piece of equipment from the mecha repair warehouse. Chapter 277 The Heavenly Killing Organization. Xia Xingchen looked up and saw an alloy shield. The main body of the shield was a hexagon, about 4 meters long, wide at the top and narrow at the bottom. Inside the shield was an alloy mecha sword. What is this? This is one or a pair of A-class mecha weapons. The 2 words on the sword are Ningfeng. It looks very old. The shield and the scabbard were added later. I made them for your mecha with the latest alloy steel formula. This shield can provide the largest protection area without affecting the flexibility of the mecha. When did you get such a piece of equipment, old man? Xia Xingchen asked curiously. Haha, the last time we passed by the Watchster space station, I went to the local second-hand mecha parts market. Oh, I remember. A mecha repairman next to him covered his mouth and shouted. At that time, Mr. Zuo saw a rusty and mottled alloy sword for mecha and bought it for 200,000 star coins. Yes, that's the sword. I thought it was weird in the second-hand spare parts market. Later, I found that the things on the surface of the sword were just attached to it, so I used strong acid and high temperature to clean those things off, and found the true face of the sword. Its hardness is almost the hardest I have ever seen in this universe, and the most important thing is that I can't analyze the alloy composition of this sword. But judging from its hardness alone, it has reached, or even exceeded many S-level mecha weapons. So it is temporarily rated as an A-level mecha weapon. Xingchen, you are about to face a higher level mecha division on the battlefield. When facing those mecha divisions, weapons such as light swords and thermal axes are vulnerable, and it is difficult to exert the power of mecha martial arts. So I give it to you, and you can slowly explore its role and use. According to my intuitive analysis, it is very likely to be an S-level mecha weapon. Zuo Lao said meaningfully. Thank you, old man. Xia Xingchen bowed deeply to express his gratitude. The recruitment of core personnel of the Princess Knights has been completed. Princess Kinjana of Star and Princess Kinfanger of Moon have each recruited 30 combat staff from the general staff. Among these people, 5 of the best staff will be selected to become members of the Combat Command Center on the Princess flagship, and 5 will stay on the Xianwei 1 satellite to establish the Princess Knights Liaison Office, responsible for the coordination between the Princess Knights and other troops and the subsequent recruitment of personnel for the Knights. Another 20 staff will join other recruited troops to command and coordinate. In addition, each princess's knights also selected 200 D-class mecha divisions and 200 battleship pilots this time. With their joining, the combat effectiveness of the princess knights will be further improved. A few days later, the two princesses will hold a swearing-in ceremony in the Royal Fleet berth area of the Canal Space Station. At this time, in the capital starfield, on Daze Star, which is close to Xianyuan Star, in a secret room in an antique villa, 9 people are arguing fiercely. The oldest of these 9 people is already 90 years old, and the youngest is only in his early 30s. Their identities are all kinds of professions. For them, identity is just a cover. Each of these 9 people has dozens or even hundreds of names, and they call each other only by code names, from 1 to 9. These 9 people are the 9 elders of the largest killer organization in the Milky Way, Xia. Killers originated from assassins. Assassins are one of the oldest professions in human history. It originated 3 or 4,000 years before humans entered the space age, when humans had just gotten rid of primitive society. Assassins are a special profession in human history. They are often responsible for murdering or assassinating a target person for political or personal reasons. Some assassins assassinate alone, while others collaborate with multiple people. Some are professional assassins who have received strict training, while others become assassins by chance due to objective circumstances. Assassins assassinate people under instructions, out of personal hatred, for money and fame, or for the people of the country, and so on. Later, with the development of the times, the assassin industry gradually became professionalized and large-scale, and the motives for killing also changed. They became professional killers. A killer is a person who accepts the request of others to kill a specific target and obtains material rewards, usually money. Professional killers who make this their profession are called professional killers. Professional killers kill people as a profession, and the tasks come from the assignment of the group or the commission of the client. They are usually no different from ordinary people, but they have extremely high psychological qualities, are proficient in various killing tools, and use a variety of methods to kill people. There are hidden killers and killers with some fame within a certain range. Hidden killers are usually hidden in the crowd. They are not noticed, because they are good at hiding. They may be white-collar workers, employees of a company, or some other identities. They only take action when there is work to do. This kind of killer is more dangerous. Famous killers are mostly professional mercenaries, or retired special forces or mecha masters. These people walk in the rain of bullets all year round, and engage in the profession of killing for a certain purpose. Killers kill people without motives, which is also the reason why they can hide themselves well, and stay out of the world. The Xia organization was established hundreds of years before humans entered the space age. After thousands of years of development, they have become a terrifying force in the underground world of the Milky Way. Over the past thousands of years, countless people have died at their hands, including many important military and political figures, which have had a great impact on the development of the entire Milky Way history. The Xia organization has its own secret website on the Skynet. Employers post tasks through the secret website and deposit the remuneration into the secret account of the Xia organization. The killers under the Xia organization will select killers according to the difficulty of the task. For some small, not difficult tasks, they would introduce those killers who were not members of the Xia organization and some part-time amateur killers to complete. They only provided financial supervision and intelligence on the target. Of course, the Xia organization would deduct 60% or even 80% of the money as management fees. When the Emperor Qin of the Empire just ascended the throne, the Xia organization was the most arrogant in the Milky Way. No country or organization dared to confront them openly. Even at that time, once a member of the Xia organization was arrested by the government, the Xia organization dared to openly issue death threats to the law enforcement agencies and asked them to release the person. Under their tyranny, these departments had no choice but to compromise. Later, after the unification of the Galactic Empire, the Xia organization actually assassinated Emperor Qin for money. Emperor Qin was completely enraged. The hot-tempered and decisive Emperor Qin mobilized the army of the whole country and mobilized the power of the people to eliminate the Xia organization. Because the Xianxia organization had made too many enemies over thousands of years, the major forces in the Milky Way actually put aside their past grudges and joined forces to cooperate with the actions of the Galactic Empire military. The Xianxia organization suffered a devastating disaster, and countless secret bases were destroyed. As for the assassins of the Xianxia organization, Emperor Qin Wu only said 4 words: kill without mercy. Chapter 278 The Temptation of a Large Amount of Money. The Xianxia organization was almost destroyed by the thunderbolt of Qin Wu, the emperor of the empire at that time, and only less than 1,000th of its members escaped by chance. After more than 100 years of lingering, it still has not recovered its vitality. However, a lean camel is bigger than a horse. With thousands of years of heritage and accumulated wealth, they have developed quickly and become an important force in the underground dark world of the Milky Way. It's just that they are now more low-key and secretive, and their concealment work is very good. They will act very cautiously against some assassination targets with great influence. If they can't pretend that the target died accidentally, they will resolutely not take action. This time, they received a special commission on their website to assassinate 2 princesses when the Princess Knights held a swearing-in ceremony on March 6, 2020. They easily guessed that the Northern Empire must have issued the task. Only they have the financial resources to do such a thing, and once the princess is assassinated at this time, the impact on the morale of the entire Galactic Empire army and preparations is very huge. According to the current capabilities of the Xianxia organization and the protection of the princess by the royal guards, this mission is very difficult. It is difficult to carry out the assassination in this situation, and even if the assassination is successful, it is difficult for the assassin to escape unscathed. However, people die for money, and birds die for food. The price offered by the employer this time is too tempting. On March 6th, the assassination of 1 princess will receive a reward of 500 billion star coins, and the assassination of 2 princesses will receive a reward of 800 billion star coins. This money is almost the net profit of a large interstellar universe consortium with a healthy profit for several years. The Xianxia organization could not help but be tempted by such a huge sum of money, but they are very cautious. At present, the status of this mission is still under the status of under review. The Xianxia organization quickly held an emergency elders meeting and recalled 9 elders to discuss whether to accept this mission. The meeting was chaired by the 3rd elder, whose code name is 3. We haven't seen each other for 5 years. I don't know what you want to see us this time. We haven't held such an emergency meeting for 30 years. The elder codenamed 5 asked. At this time, the elder codenamed 3 spoke. I will preside over this meeting. This is a temporary emergency meeting jointly initiated by the 3 of us. 1, 2, and me. This 3 is the 3rd person in the Xianxia organization, responsible for the daily management of the Xianxia organization. We received a special task commission on our task publishing website. The employer wants to commission us to assassinate the Star Princess Kinjana and the Moon Princess Kinfanja on March 6, 2020, the day when the Galactic Empire Princess Guard held an expedition oath-taking meeting. What? Someone dares to issue such a task? First of all, let's talk about the difficulty of the task. Under the heavy protection of the army and the royal guard, even if you can kill the target, you can basically not escape. This is simply suicide. Besides, if you really do this, it will be a declaration of war on the Galactic Empire. Have you forgotten the lessons of 100 years ago? 5 complained. That being said, the price offered by this employer is not low. Killing a princess on that day can get a reward of 500 billion star coins, and killing both princesses can get a reward of 800 billion star coins. 3 went on to explain. Hiss. The others gasped. Only Nicholas can be so rich. What a big deal. I'm afraid I'll have the money, but no life to spend it. The people below were talking to each other, saying all kinds of things. Even though they were professional killers with thousands of lives to their credit, they all showed expressions of shock, wry smiles, greed, and even eagerness to try. 3 continued. This matter is of great importance. Whether to do it or not. 1, 2, and I would like to hear everyone's opinions. 9. You speak first. Of course I have to agree to this. If you are afraid of death, why would you be a killer? 9 is in his early 30s this year, and he is the youngest of the 3. He took over after killing his predecessor 9 3 years ago. As the saying goes, a newborn calf is not afraid of a tiger. He even thought of completing this task himself to gain a higher position in the Xianxia organization. 8 is a few years older than 9, and is also the young generation in the Xianxia organization. These newcomers have not experienced the catastrophe of the Xianxia organization more than 100 years ago, so they have no sense of crisis. 8 then said, several big brothers, old predecessors, I agree with 9. In the past few decades, although our organization has recovered some vitality, it has been too cautious. We have been living off our old capital, so now in the killer world, the killer guild, the Shura society, the death god organization, the dark order and other killer organizations have come from behind. If we continue to develop like this for a few decades, we will eat up our capital, and be overtaken by other assassin organizations, and lose our superior position in the assassin world. Especially the reward for this mission is unprecedented. Once we accept this mission and complete it, our prestige will be greatly improved, and the whole world will know that we are back. Our position in the assassin world will not be affected for hundreds of years. If we refuse this mission and let it be completed by other assassin organizations, we will become cowards in the eyes of others in the assassin world, and become a laughingstock. And the organization that completes this mission will greatly threaten the position of Xianxia. As the saying goes, competitors are enemies. Over the years, Xianxia has offended too many competitors. If a new assassin organization replaces our position one day in the future and orders the entire assassin world to deal with us, the consequences will be unbearable for Xianxia. 8's words caused everyone present to think deeply. It was 7's turn to speak. 7 was a very taciturn man with a dark complexion and rough skin. He looked like an honest miner. My father told me that people must have a sense of awe. When you are not afraid of anything and do not care about the consequences, then you are not far from death. We are killers, not desperados. Humph, cowards are cowards. There are no excuses. 8 was very dissatisfied with 7's position in front of him, so he spoke rudely. How dare you? 3 spoke. 8, have you forgotten our damn rules? When is it your turn to talk about elders who are higher than you? 3's tone was unfriendly, and several other elders also cast very dissatisfied eyes at 8. 8 was sweating all over. He knew very well how powerful those elders were. They had countless ways to make themselves more miserable than death. Yes, I'm sorry, Elder 7, I spoke out of turn. 8 could only admit his mistake. Humph. 7 turned his head away coldly. 6, you have the most ideas among us, you speak first. 3 broke the awkward atmosphere in the room and spoke. Chapter 279 The Choice of the Heavenly Killing Organization. 6 nodded and looked at several Xiandom elders. Why do we become killers? To make money. Isn't it good to live in peace and make a fortune? Let me ask the elders, is there any requirement in our Xiandom ancestral precepts that we Xiandom must dominate the Milky Way or become the #1 killer group in the Milky Way? No, never. The purpose of our Xiandom is just 3 words: hide, injure, and kill. 1, who had been silent, suddenly said. 6 nodded and continued, in that case, why should we care about what other killer groups do? We just need to train our talents and complete the commissions we accept. That's enough. Besides, the assassination of the princess is simply a slap in the face of the empire. Maybe there will be no problem in the short term, because the empire does not have the energy to deal with us for the time being, but once the empire wins the war and has completely freed up its hands, it will definitely concentrate a large number of troops again to deal with the people who assassinated the princess. By then, no matter which killer group it is, it will suffer a heavy blow. By then, it will be a luxury for them to even stay alive. What can they use to threaten the status of our Xianxia organization? As successful killers, we have many necessary qualities: courage, calmness, forbearance, cruelty. But ambition can only kill you. Think about it carefully. 6's analysis was well reasoned and triggered everyone's thinking. After a long while, Sankei continued, yes, what Liu said does make sense. Wu, it's your turn. Wu was a big fat man with a face full of fat and oil. In front of the world, he was a successful big businessman, hanging out in the so-called upper class every day. No one would have thought that he was actually a killer. I agree with Liu. I won't embarrass myself. Anyway, I know that Liu has given us advice in the past few years, and we have never suffered any loss. 4. It's your turn. Tell me what you want to say. 5 said. I abstain. If you want to kill me, kill me. If you don't want to kill me, forget it. But in my opinion, this is not an impossible task. It can be completed with careful planning. 4 replied. He was actually a tall monk. No one would have thought that he was a killer with thousands of lives on his hands. The third elder continued. Actually, I don't have any idea. Rationally speaking, I really can't take this job. Not only is the risk high, but the consequences are also very serious. But I can't resist the temptation of money. It's like being scratched by a cat. It's really contradictory. Second elder, what do you think? The second elder is in his 70s. He is a famous financier in the Galactic Empire, and often appears in various investment and stock programs. The money bag of the Xianxia organization is in his hands, and the funds of the killer group also need to be laundered through his company. The second elder sat up straight, straightened his shiny slicked back hair, and said, I analyze this matter from my professional perspective. First of all, our Xianxia organization is not short of money, so there is no need to take such a big risk for money. Money can be earned endlessly, but life is only one. Second, with such a large flow of funds, no matter what means are used, it is difficult not to attract the attention of the Empire's financial, regulatory and intelligence departments. They will find us and freeze our assets, which will cause greater harm to Xianxia. Therefore, I do not agree to take this task. Everyone was silent again. They knew how terrible it would be if the organization's funds were frozen. 1. We have finished talking. What do you think we should do next? No matter what you decide, we will resolutely implement it without compromise. 3-1 said. The leader of the Xianxia organization, codenamed 1, had kept his eyes closed since the beginning of the meeting, and his whole body was lifeless. He was silent for a long time, and suddenly opened his eyes. That look swept through everyone present like a knife, piercing their hearts. 8 and 9, who had been a little too proud of themselves, just remembered that this old man was the boss of the largest killer organization in the galaxy. Once he was disliked, it would be as easy to kill him as to kill a bug. Thinking of this, their clothes were soaked with cold sweat again. 1 finally spoke. He spoke very slowly, without a trace of emotion, but every word he said hit people's hearts like a hammer. I'm 90 years old this year, and I have joined Xianxia for 75 years. When I joined Xianxia, the Empire's suppression of Xianxia had not yet ended. Those days were a catastrophe for the Xianxia organization for more than 50 years. The reason for all this was the greed and ambition of the Xianxia leader at that time. He accepted the task of assassinating Emperor Qin Wu. He lost his sense of awe at that time, just as Liu Qi said. At that time, our Xianxia organization was in its heyday, and its strength expanded to the extreme. The major forces in the universe racked their brains to curry favor with us and to have a good relationship with Xianxia. But in just a few years, these people united and cooperated with the government army to kill us. The leader felt that he was ashamed of his ancestors of Xianxia at that time, so he took the initiative to commit suicide in exchange for the government army to show leniency to the remaining Xianxia members. The old leader said before he died that it was his ambition that ruined him and the entire Xianxia. He asked his successor, the previous leader, to tell this story to every successor and every elder of Xianxia. I originally wanted to find a suitable time to tell you that I think our Xianxia organization does not have the capital to be arrogant now, but greed has blinded the eyes of some of you. Everyone was silent, and they were all thinking about the words of the great elder. The members of Xianxia, the largest assassin group in the Galactic Empire, were discussing whether to accept the task of assassinating Princess Crossing and Princess Yukinfanger. After everyone spoke, the great elder of Xianxia spoke, and he told the history of the Xianxia organization from its peak to its near demise. Moreover, specifically for this mission, since its task issuer is the Northern Empire, Emperor Nicholas, we cannot accept this mission. Politics is the dirtiest and most terrible thing in the world. and those politicians have blood on their hands, and their lives are full of deception, greed and lies. Compared with them, we killers seem much nobler. Chapter 280 The Choice of the Heavenly Killing Organization. Many ambitious people want to realize their dreams faster by cooperating with these politicians, and they have indeed achieved their goals in a short period of time. But soon, they will find that reality is not so beautiful. Either their industries are swallowed up by politicians, or they find themselves slaves and puppets of politicians. There are also countless people who have been implicated by the fall of these politicians, losing their fortunes and their families. As a businessman, you should be deeply touched by this. Nodded. You are right. Now there are many large companies and interstellar consortiums that are puppets of politicians. So they will never reach the heights of Krupp and Tang Dynasty Group, because most of their profits fall into the pockets of politicians. Yi continued, if we take on this task, we will completely break off with the Galactic Empire, and it will definitely be a life and death situation. The current situation seems to show that the Galactic Empire has a great advantage over the North in terms of military power and comprehensive national strength. We are now slapping the Galactic Empire in the face. When the military comes back, we will face another catastrophe. Although we were lucky enough to escape last time and retained a little spark, we can't be so lucky every time. 8. 9. You are still not convinced, right? You still have illusions that, if the Northern Empire wins, it will be a great achievement, and the Heavenly Killing Organization will be reused by Nicholas, right? Yi's eyes swept over the two people, and there was murderous intent in his eyes. I dare not. I dare not. The two explained nervously. No matter what you really think, if you really think so, I can only say that you are very stupid and naive. Emperor Nicholas is a person with a strong desire for control, and our killer organization is precisely not controlled by any force. Our philosophy runs counter to Nicholas's ideas. Besides, there is no gratitude in the dictionary of politicians. If Nicholas unifies the Galactic Empire, his butcher knife will be pointed at us next. He will not allow any power that he cannot control to exist in his territory. By then, not only you, but also your family, friends, and everything related to you will be eradicated. What do you think? Think about it again. Think about Nicholas's character. Do you still dare to take such a task? The two were silent. They are all smart people. It's not that they can't see these things, but they automatically filter out this information driven by interests. But as the Great Elder, this demon-like figure who has lived for more than 90 years, he is very accurate in judging people. His analysis is very convincing. Thinking of this, both of them are afraid. 6. Tell me, what should we do? The Great Elder looked at 6, with expectation in his eyes. Then I'll say a few nonsense, for reference only. 6 said modestly. First, we should explicitly refuse to accept this mission, and issue a notice to prohibit all assassins under Xia Xingchen from undertaking assassination missions against members of the Galactic Empire's royal family, military generals, and important officials. Anyone who disobeys will be killed without mercy. We cannot let a few greedy idiots drag us down. Second, we can undertake the assassination missions against important figures in the Northern Empire. I have made it clear here that we have to stand on the right side now. Once we stand on the wrong side, it will be a disaster. However, the most taboo thing about standing on the right side is to please both sides. We must now clearly express goodwill to the Galactic Empire, and even contact the Empire's intelligence department to help them do some shady things and share intelligence. Third, we should inform the Galactic Empire about such missions. I believe that many of our colleagues cannot resist the temptation of interests. In this way, we can not only gain the favor of the Empire, but also cause great trouble to our ambitious colleagues. This is my opinion, and I hope it can help you. What do you think? 6 is right. I have no objection. I think it is very good. The 9 people reached a rare consensus. Okay, then let's do it, 6 said. Everyone dispersed, leaving only 1 and 6 in the room. Why don't you leave? 1 was very surprised. I have another suggestion. I guess those old and young stubborn people will object, because they can't save their face, so I want to talk to you alone. Tell me, I think there will be colleagues who can't resist this temptation. I suggest that we should take this opportunity to express greater goodwill to the Empire and send people to help secretly protect the two princesses. One thought seriously for a long time and pressed the communicator. Let 12 and 13 come in. The top leaders of the Xianxia organization reached a consensus, but it also caused an uproar in other assassin organizations. Nicholas was very insidious. He didn't trust anyone, so he ordered Yuri to publish this news on the websites of major assassin organizations in the galaxy. But in the end, only one large assassin group, Xia Society, took on this task. Other organizations were forced to give up this piece of fat meat because they saw the risks behind it or were not strong enough. Xia Society is a killer group with only more than 50 years of history. But the people in the Xia Society are all desperate criminals. They will do whatever it takes to kill their target. In order to kill a target, they will even kill thousands or even tens of thousands of innocent people. Moreover, the killers of the Xia Society are not afraid of death. They are all dying, orphans collected from all over the Milky Way. The Xia Society raises them, teaches them the skills to kill, and most importantly, brainwashes them from childhood. They are only loyal to the leader of the Xia Society and obey all his orders. Moreover, their organizational structure makes it difficult for spies from other organizations to penetrate them. So far, no one knows the true face of their leader, and no one knows where their headquarters is. In just a few years, the Xia Society has made a name for itself in the underground world of the Galactic Empire. But as their strength expands, the ambition of the Xia Society leader is also expanding. Although the task of assassinating the two princesses is arduous, for the Xia Society, this is an excellent opportunity to quickly enhance its prestige and even replace the Xianxia organization. Chapter 281 Preparations before the assassination. The assassin organization Xia Society in the Milky Way accepted the task of assassinating the two princesses. They sent two of their race assassins, Robin and Ribery. Robin is a bald, white man in his 30s. He is best at Macup infiltration. At the same time, he is also a genius B-class mecha master. Ribery is a short brown-haired white man who is 2 years older than Robin. Ribery is a strong warrior who is proficient in a variety of combat skills, killing techniques, and the use of various cold and hot weapons. He is one of the ace assassins of Xia Society. The reason why Xia Society only sent out the two of them is that their own strength is among the top few in Xia Society, and the two have been partners for many years. Over the years, they have cooperated to complete hundreds of tasks, including many difficult tasks, without any failure. The two of them work together. Generally speaking, Robin will disguise himself and lurk beside the target to find out the target's action pattern, and then Ribery will attack the target forcefully at the right time and place. After the success, Robin will drive a vehicle to help Ribery evacuate as soon as possible. Moreover, for assassins who are carrying out missions, the more people there are, the greater the possibility of mistakes and leaks. So the two received the news and came to the Canal space station as soon as possible. However, what made them depressed was that the intelligence department of the Galactic Empire had already known that someone was going to assassinate the two princesses at the Princess Knight's swearing-in ceremony. After all, the entire assassin world knew about this matter, and the intelligence department of the Galactic Empire could not be unaware of it. They had spies in most assassin groups. After learning that someone was going to assassinate the princess, the Ministry of the Interior, the Security Department, the Intelligence Department and the Royal Guard of the Galactic Empire all asked the princess to cancel the swearing-in ceremony. After all, this is just a formality and publicity to the outside world. Compared with the safety of the princesses, it is nothing. Moreover, if the princess encounters an accident at the swearing-in ceremony, it will cause a serious blow to the morale and confidence of the entire empire, and the military and intelligence departments will also face tremendous pressure. But the attitude of the two princesses is very firm, and they will never compromise with danger. Finally, after urgent consultations between the two sides, everyone compromised and the oath-taking ceremony originally scheduled to be held in the royal birth area of the Canal space station was changed to the number 1 playground of the Royal Military Academy. In this way, inside Xia Star, Plus the Royal Military Academy is a closed environment, and there are heavy guards. The princess's safety can be further protected. This sudden change made Robin and Ribery depressed, but it was not difficult for them. They followed the two travelers who had been reviewed, killed them when they went to the bathroom, and the bodies were thrown into the garbage disposal system. Then Robin copied the biological verification information of the two people, made himself and Ribery look like these two people, and copied the palm prints and fingerprints of the two people with special polymer film gloves, and copied the pupil information of the two people with special contact lenses. In this way, using the identities of these two unlucky guys, they successfully mixed into Xia and Star. Since these two people were just travelers, their disappearance did not attract anyone's attention. So the two of them stayed directly in the hotel, booked by the two unlucky guys, and used their identities to inquire about the news everywhere. In this way, even if the truth is revealed in the future, the intelligence department can only find two unlucky people and lose the clues. The remaining problem is how to enter the scene of the oath-taking ceremony to carry out an effective assassination. The playground of the Royal Military Academy is very large. The stands on the side of the playground can accommodate 100,000 people. At that time, it will be full of students. The rostrum on the playground is a platform for selecting generals. The princess will come down from it and come to the playground to meet each newly recruited member and accept their loyalty. At the same time, there are 4 royal knight mechas on the playground as a guard of honor and escort. After many on-site visits and intelligence collection, and making very careful analysis and intelligence deduction, Robin and Ribery finally found 2 breakthrough points, the members of the Princess Knights who the 2 workers are about to meet. These people are about to come into close contact with the princess. If the 2 of them sneak into these people and launch a surprise attack on the princess, they are sure to kill them with 1 blow. It is still a bit difficult to kill 2 princesses at the same time, but killing one should not be a big problem. Another piece of news that made the 2 even more excited was that the 4 royal knight mechas that served as the guard of honor on the playground were from the Royal Military Academy, and the mecha masters were 4 students of the Royal Military Academy, all of whom were D-level mecha masters. This made the 2 of them very happy. The killers of their Shura society are not afraid of death, and they really put life and death aside. But after learning this news, they had more choices. If they could seize a mecha, they would not only have double insurance, but also be able to kill both princesses, and they would have a chance to escape unscathed. After all, there is a glimmer of hope for life. No one wants to die. U.C. On the night of March 5th, 2020, a group of young soldiers had a dinner in a restaurant in the commercial district of the military academy. Tomorrow, as a member of the Princess Knights, they will leave Xia and Star and rush to the distant battlefield. After eating and drinking, a group of people left and returned to their respective homes and dormitories. A student drank a little too much, and when he went out and was blown by the wind, he was a little confused. At this moment, he felt the urge to vomit. He asked his companions to wait for him in front, and he went into a corner of an alley to vomit. Robin and Ribery approached quietly and interrupted his brainstem with one move. Ribery quickly took off the clothes of the student and put them on himself. Robin took out his makeup tools and made Ribery look exactly like the student in a few minutes. The reason why he was chosen was that he was one of the members of the Knights who would be received by the Princess of Stars tomorrow, and his figure was almost exactly the same as Ribery's. Soon, Ribery staggered and caught up with his companions, mumbling. His companions thought he was drunk and didn't care about the change in his voice and took him back to the dormitory. Robin quickly disposed of the body and went into a nightclub not far from the Royal Military Academy, where there was another mecha trainee to deal with. A large assassin organization in the Milky Way, the Shura Society, sent 2 assassins to Xia and Star. Ribery, with the help of Robin, killed a candidate member of the Princess Knights, disguised himself as this person, and mixed into the team of the Knights who were about to take the oath. After dealing with the body, Robin swaggered into a nightclub next to the Royal Military Academy. Chapter 282, Swordsmanship. Xia has been very proud these days, because he was selected as one of the only 4 mecha masters who will attend the swearing-in ceremony of the Princess Knights. He was qualified not because of his excellent skills, but because of his family background. His father is a senior officer of the Royal Guard, and his uncle is the vice president of the Royal Military Academy, so this position naturally fell on his head. Having such an opportunity is not only a symbol of family background and status, but also will leave a very important mark in the file, which will be of great help for his future promotion. Li Ke was very happy today, and found a few beautiful women in the nightclub to vent. Fortunately, he still had reason, and knew that tomorrow's matter was very important. He drove the maglev car back to his residence alone in the middle of the night. But what he didn't notice was that another person had ambushed in the car early. Robin knocked Li Ke unconscious and drove the car to the suburbs. After a severe torture, Li Ke couldn't bear the torture, and confessed a lot of secrets such as the process of tomorrow's swearing-in ceremony, the route, and the mecha startup password. Robin got the answer he wanted. He copied Li Ke's biological verification information, killed him, buried his body, and drove Li Ke's maglev car back to his dormitory. Fortunately, the dormitories of the Imperial Royal Military Academy are all single rooms, so Robin doesn't have to worry about Li Ke's roommates discovering the flaws. Xia Xingchen has been very nervous these days. When he learned that someone was going to assassinate the princess, he became uneasy. These days, he has been immersed in the study of swordsmanship every day. He has learned all the swordsmanship videos given to him by Qin Ren and the old man early. In order to better protect the princess, Xia Xingchen is not satisfied with his ability. Moreover, Qin Ren and the old man underestimated his acceptance ability. Xia Xingchen felt that he could still accept more powerful swordsmanship, but choosing what kind of swordsmanship made him feel difficult. There are thousands of swordsmanship and sword-related martial arts circulating on the Skynet, but those truly powerful swordsmanship cannot be found on the Skynet at all. Xia Xingchen suddenly remembered that when he was fighting with Hao Cheng in the final of the Xianyangxing Military Academy mecha fighting competition, a scene came into his mind. A large group of apes were practicing martial arts under the Crystal Pyramid. They were fighting with various weapons, and several apes were training children's martial arts on the side. Then a stick technique naturally came into his mind, which was the nameless stick technique used by Hao Cheng. That's why Xia Xingchen was able to judge Hao Cheng's moves in advance during the competition at that time, and finally supported until 2S level mecha masters arrived to separate the two. Thinking of this, Xia Xingchen became excited. He immediately found a very quiet room and entered a meditative state. Xia Xingchen slowly probed his mental power into the depths of his consciousness, and he finally saw the mysterious crystal pyramid, which was still slowly rotating in the sky. Xia Xingchen relied on his memory, and his mental power floated down all the way to a martial arts field. There, he saw an ape man in blue clothes and an ape man in white clothes. The two were fighting. The long sword in the hands of the blue-clothed monkey man was actually orange, and it looked like a ball of flame was burning on it. At first, Xia Xingchen thought he was holding a light energy sword, but after a closer look, it was not. It was just an ordinary alloy longsword made of very fine materials. The white-clothed monkey man waved the long sword in his hand with a very special rhythm. Xia Xingchen felt that the moves of these two people were not that simple, so he moved his consciousness closer to the two people and used his inside skills. The two monkey men moved, and the blue-clothed monkey man waved the long sword in his hand, and the whole sword seemed to be surrounded by flames. He swung a sword, and a scorching flame burst out from the sword. The flame extended 5 or 6 meters long, swift and domineering. Xia Xingchen felt that the temperature of the flame was about 1000 degrees through his inside skills. Facing the flames coming towards him, the white-clothed monkey man a few meters away had a smile on his face and gently waved the long sword in his hand, and an invisible sword energy shot out. Xia Xingchen knew that this seemingly ordinary sword contained great power. The invisible sword energy split the flames in half, and the flames dissipated in the air. The two fought back and forth. This battle lasted for more than 2 hours. The two people tried their best, but couldn't do anything to each other. At this time, Xia Xingchen had entered a mysterious state. Suddenly, a large piece of information flooded into his mind. It turned out to be the sword tactics and mental methods of 2 sets of swordsmanship. The first set of swordsmanship is the Burning Heaven sword method, which attaches the blood and power in the body to the sword, and uses a special method to form a high temperature of thousands of degrees on the sword, which is even higher than the light energy sword. The Burning Heaven sword method is more suitable for fighting on the battlefield, and it is also suitable for charging or group fighting. And this set of swordsmanship is also very suitable for mecha use. The second set of swordsmanship is called the Broken Water Sword method. This set of swordsmanship is very complicated. To practice it, you need to reach a certain level of skill, blood, mental strength and understanding of swordsmanship. The water breaking sword technique has 3 stages. The first stage is to cut off water, the second stage is to cut off feelings, and the third stage is to cut off the world. The white-clothed ape man just now was only at the stage of cutting off water, and he fought evenly with a blue-clothed ape man. If he reaches the stage of cutting off the world, it is said that he can cut off time and space. Xia Xingchen was very excited to get these 2 exquisite sword techniques. He found that the mysterious pyramid might also be a tool for inheriting civilization. Through this inheritance method of the pyramid, he has fully mastered the use of these 2 sword techniques, and even some experience and tips for using them have been instilled in his mind. Xia Xingchen was eager to try. He came to a fighting club not far from the 1524 Mecha Club. There were various cold weapons and private training rooms. After paying for a training room, he took a sword and prepared to practice his sword moves. Who knew that something unexpected happened? Xia Xingchen raised the sword in his right hand and made the starting gesture of the Burning Heaven sword technique. 2 seconds later, the sword in his hand melted into drops of molten iron. The molten iron dripped onto the ground, making a sizzling sound. Xia Xingchen was helpless. He took a few other swords, and the best one only lasted 5 seconds, but it still ended up the same. Looking at the molten iron on the ground, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It seemed that this Burning Heaven sword technique was too overbearing, and ordinary swords couldn't withstand it at all. In desperation, he connected Hao Cheng's communication. Brother Hao Cheng, do you know where to buy swords on Xia Star? I mean the kind of swords that are well made, and made of special materials. Hao Cheng hesitated. There really aren't any on Xia Star. They are only on Kangshao Star and Luban Star in the Eastern Administrative Region. Kangshao Star is a holy place for martial arts, where the people are tough and martial. There are many workshops that use ancient sword making methods, and the craftsmanship has been passed down for thousands of years. And Luban Star has a manufacturing center that specializes in making cold weapons with new materials and new techniques. Oh, I see. It's too far away. Then I won't bother you. Xingchen, why do you want the sword? Recently, Qin Ren and the old man taught me several sets of swordsmanship, and I also found several sets of swordsmanship to practice. But because one of the swordsmanship is extremely powerful, I urgently need a high temperature resistant sword. How about this? I'll pick you up and take you to the armory of the Holy Hall on Xia Star to help you pick a sword. Isn't this inappropriate? I'm not from the Holy Hall. Xia Xingchen hesitated. Xingchen, we are brothers. Didn't you give me the nuclear engine without hesitation? No need to say more. See you later. Chapter 283, Sword Search. Hao Cheng's car stopped at the door. Xia Xingchen got in the car, and the two went straight to the royal garden area. There is a large villa complex on the edge of the royal garden area, which is mainly inhabited by the elders of the royal family, members of the royal guards and staff. As the guardian knight of the royal family stationed by the holy temple, Knight Bell was allocated a large manor here. Knight Bell also transformed this place into the base of the holy temple organization in Xia Star. A bunch of children from the holy temple are trained here. The maglev car drove into the manor and stopped in front of magnificent palace-shaped building. The two walked into the building together. Xia Xingchen saw Knight Bell standing at the door of his office to greet him and hurried over to greet him. Xia Xingchen meets Lord Knight Bell. Xingchen, welcome here. You have taken good care of Hao Cheng over the past year or so, and I should invite you to be my guest to express my gratitude. Lord Knight, you are too polite. I heard from Hao Cheng that you are looking for a sword. Tell me in detail. Let me see if I can help you. Thank you, sir. As you know, I have been practicing martial arts with Mr. Qin and the old man. A few days ago, Mr. Qin suggested that I practice sword skills so that I can improve my strength in mecha battles. I, a student, learned 2 sword skills by chance. One of the powerful sword skills is called Burning Sky Sword Technique. I have initially mastered the method of this sword technique. However, this sword technique will generate a temperature of thousands of degrees on the sword body. I tried 7 or 8 swords, but none of them could last more than 5 seconds before they were completely melted. Therefore, I want to find a suitable sword. Nightbell pointed to the weapon rack next to him. There is a sword over there. Practice it for me and see what the situation is. I'm afraid. It's okay. This is just an ordinary sword. It's not worth much. Xia Xingchen walked forward and drew out the sword. He made the starting move of the burning heaven sword technique. The blood in his body surged, and a blazing flame instantly surrounded the sword. The sword body turned orange-yellow. However, although this is a sword used for training in the temple, its quality is much better than that of the swords in ordinary martial arts halls. 7 or 8 seconds passed, and the sword still did not change. Xia Xingchen used the first move. He raised his hand and swung the sword. An embarrassing thing happened. The sword body was suddenly thrown out like a puddle of mud and stuck to the wall. The wall quickly burned. The automatic firefighting system in the house quickly sprayed a large amount of clean water on the wall, finally preventing the spread of the fire. The supplies were filled with white steam and the smell of burning objects. Xia Xingchen held a bear hilt in his hand, with a very embarrassed expression. Haha, interesting. Nightbell clapped his hands and laughed. Xingchen, this is a great adventure for you. Such a domineering swordsmanship is rare. If I'm not wrong, this swordsmanship can also be applied to mecha combat, right? The old man is really observant. Boy, follow me. Nightbell turned and walked to the back, and the two followed closely behind him. Several people came to a warehouse in the basement behind the hall. Nightbell used pupil verification and palm print verification to open the door of the warehouse. The three walked in, and there were rows of dazzling weapons. Nightbell introduced to Xia Xingchen, although the weapon I'm best at is stick fighting, I have actually dabbled in all kinds of weapons. I don't have any other hobbies in my life. I just love to collect all kinds of weapons. These are my lifelong collections. I have some good swords here, and I decided to give you a few. I'm afraid that the weapons in the temple's arsenal that Hao Cheng mentioned just now can't withstand your special skills. Old man, this is your life's hard work. I can't take away someone else's love. Xingchen, what you said is wrong. As the saying goes, a sword is given to a hero. For these magic weapons, the best destination is to accompany a powerful master to kill the enemy on the battlefield, rather than staying in my warehouse like now and gathering dust. I will collect them and play with them and then reward them to those who have made contributions to my holy temple. If you don't believe me, ask Hao Cheng. The golden dragon water and fire stick he often uses was taken from here. Hao Cheng nodded repeatedly on the side. Then it is better to obey than to be respectful. Xia Xingchen, led by Hao Cheng, came to the Manor of Nightbell, which is also the training base of the Holy Temple organization on Shianyuan Star. He explained that he wanted to find a sword, and Nightbell personally led him to his private armory and let Xia Xingchen choose from his collection. I won't help you find it, but tell you which weapon is the best. For warriors, choose with your heart, and feel with your heart. The real magic weapon has a soul. It can resonate with the warrior. You don't have to look for it. They will naturally come to you. Disciple, let's go out first and let him feel it for himself. Xingchen, take your time to choose. Don't be in a hurry. Nightbell took Hao Cheng out of the house. Xia Xingchen walked into the depths of the secret room and looked at the various weapons in the room row by row. There were hundreds of swords alone. He was dazzled, but he remembered what Nightbell said just now. Feel the soul of the weapon with your heart. Xia Xingchen stood in the center of the warehouse, with his inside skill fully activated, and his mental power covering the entire warehouse. He felt that in his mind, all kinds of emotions poured into his mind: excitement, depression, tyranny, and desire for killing. Xia Xingchen understood that this was the so-called soul of magic weapon. He communicated with the souls of the weapons one by one, listening to their stories. They were telling their own stories, feeling their joys and sorrows. This process was also a baptism for Xia Xingchen's soul. Suddenly, a touch of heat came into his eyes, and a sword turned into a flame elf and danced happily around Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen knew that this was the sword he wanted. He comforted the sword and continued to communicate with other weapons. Finally, he communicated with the last row. Xia Xingchen breathed a sigh of relief. However, when he wanted to communicate with the last sword in the corner, he was at a loss. The soul of this sword was a dark mass, like a black hole in the universe, very heavy and solid. Xia Xingchen tried to communicate with it, but found that he could not communicate with it at all. Xia Xingchen tried to communicate with it many times, but there was still no response. Helplessly, Xia Xingchen had to give up. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 284, Scarlet Flame Sword. Xia Xingchen ended his communication with a weapon and walked straight to the sword. That gave him a fiery feeling. Xia Xingchen drew out the sword, which was a red sword. A wonderful feeling of blood connection appeared, and Xia Xingchen was very surprised. The unity of man and sword is a very profound state in the eyes of sword users. And this sword seems to be born to fit Xia Xingchen, as if it grows on him. It's you. Xia Xingchen happily put the sword back into the scabbard, turned to leave the warehouse. Just as he was about to walk out of the warehouse, a faint voice sounded in his mind. Take me away. Take me away. Xia Xingchen was stunned. He turned around and tried to find the voice carefully, but the voice disappeared. He searched for a long time and found nothing. When he turned around to leave again, the voice appeared again. Xia Xingchen quickly activated the inside skill and instantly locked the direction of the voice. He walked over and found that the source of the sound was in the corner of the wall in the last row of the warehouse. There was a sword standing alone on the shelf. Xia Xingchen remembered that when he communicated with the soul of the weapon just now, it was the dark soul that did not respond. Xia Xingchen drew out the sword and saw that the sword body was black and gave people a very heavy feeling. It was impossible to tell what material it was made of. It was also much heavier than an ordinary sword. For some reason, Xia Xingchen felt familiar with this sword, so he continued to look down and found two antique characters Ling Feng on the guard of the hilt. He suddenly remembered that a few days ago, when he just returned to Tangyang to modify the mecha, Mr. Zhuo Lehen gave him an alloy sword specially used for mecha. That sword was extremely hard, the material was unknown, and the style was exactly the same as this sword. There was no difference in the material, and even the two characters on the guard of the hilt were the same. Xia Xingchen smiled bitterly. It seemed that he and this sword were really destined to be together. A whole day passed, and Xia Xingchen had not come out yet. Hao Cheng was a little anxious and wanted to go in to take a look, but was stopped by Night Bell. Fate is determined by heaven. Don't disturb his thoughts. Chenja, your concentration needs to be polished. Even if the closest person is in danger, you must remain calm so as not to be used by the enemy. The teacher taught me that. Hao Cheng calmed down. The next day, Xia Xingchen finally walked out of the warehouse with two swords in his hands. Night Bell also rushed over after hearing the news. Old man, I have finished choosing. Please take a look. Xia Xingchen first handed over the red sword. Night Bell took the sword, drew the sword out of the sheath, took a closer look and said, this sword is called Red Flame, which I got on Mars. This sword uses a lot of precious fire minerals, and it will emit flames when you inject true ki into it. In addition, the user's ki and blood can resonate with it. The faster the ki and blood flow, the higher the temperature of the blood, and the higher the temperature of the sword. I have never tried the fire-based exercises, but I think it must have a great amplification effect on the fire-based exercises. Boy, take it and try the sword. Elder Bell said, handing the sword to Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen handed the other sword to Hao Cheng for keeping, and pulled out the red flame sword from the scabbard. He made a sword flower with his hand, and used the starting move of the Burning Heaven sword technique. The blade of the red flame sword suddenly lit up, emitting a red light. Even more than 10 meters away, Night Bell and Hao Cheng could feel the rolling heat waves. Xia Xingchen waited for more than 10 seconds, and found that his skills had no adverse effects on the sword. On the contrary, the temperature of the sword was nearly twice as high as that of an ordinary sword, while the consumption of true ki and blood in the body was reduced by more than half. Xia Xingchen moved With the circulation of blood and the movement of true ki in his body, he felt that he and the sword were slowly merging into one. And he himself seemed to be integrated with the blue-clothed ape man in the crystal pyramid. The red flame sword was swung, and the flames shot up into the sky. The sword was as powerful as the wind, opening and closing. Nightbell kept cheering. When he finished a set of sword moves, Nightbell and Hao Cheng both applauded. Good, very good. This sword is made for you, Xingchen. I'm very pleased that this sword has found its home. Xia Xingchen sheathed the sword. Hao Cheng handed the other sword to Nightbell. Nightbell took the sword and his face changed immediately. Xia Xingchen found two swords in Nightbell's arsenal, one of which was the red flame, which had a huge amplification ability for fire-based skills. After trying the power of the red flame sword, Hao Cheng handed the other sword to Nightbell. Nightbell drew out the sword and hesitated. This sword? Sir Knight, what's wrong with this sword? Xia Xingchen was very curious. I can't say much about this sword. This sword is very strange. It was found in a ruin on a planet that was completely destroyed by insects. When we destroyed it, all other life on that planet was killed by insects. This sword was inserted into the body of a queen insect at that time. The juice of the insect was highly corrosive. My mecha arm was melted, but the sword inserted into the queen insect body was not damaged at all. Its characteristics are that it is extremely hard, almost no toughness, high temperature resistance and corrosion resistance. What material it is made of is still a mystery. I used a variety of magic weapons in the warehouse to chop it, but it was unscathed. Moreover, I can't feel any sword soul on it. Xia Xingchen, why did you choose it? Xia Xingchen said, old man, I can feel that it has a sword soul, but its sword soul is very low key and special, and it is unwilling to communicate with people. When I was about to leave, I seemed to hear a voice asking me to take it away. Moreover, coincidentally, a few days ago, Mr. Zuo Lehen gave me an alloy sword specially used for mechas, also called Ningfeng, and the style and material are exactly the same as this sword. I suspect that they were made by the same person. As he said that, Xia Xingchen shared several photos on his personal terminal to Nightbell and Hao Cheng's personal terminals. Seeing the photos, both of them were shocked. Could this be the so-called mysterious connection in the dark? Nightbell gave a few instructions into his personal terminal, and soon his disciple brought a golden alloy iron rod. Come, Xingchen, I will teach you the moves myself, so you can be confident and use all your strength. Nightbell said. Xia Xingchen was very grateful. For a warrior, it is difficult to immediately exert the full power of a newly learned martial art or a brand new weapon. He must be familiar with the moves and discover the shortcomings through actual combat. However, it is very risky to rashly use new moves in actual combat. And if he finds an acquaintance to hone the moves, he cannot use his full strength for fear of hurting others, and it may not have a good effect if it is not a life and death fight. The two people he often fights with, Hao Cheng and Hugo, although their martial arts are higher than his, but if he uses the burning heaven sword technique and the cutting water sword technique plus these two magic weapons, the result is hard to say. Nightbell, his martial arts level is several levels higher than Xia Xingchen. Even if there are 10 Xia Xingchens attacking with all their strength, they can't do anything to him. He can give full play to his strength without worrying about it. Thinking of this, he clasped his fists and bowed. Thank you, Sir Knight. Brother Hao Cheng, please step back a few dozen meters. This move is too powerful, and I can't control it freely. Nightbell returned the salute and signaled him to start. Hao Cheng also retreated 20 meters away. Xia Xingchen swung his sword horizontally. Although the Ningfeng sword did not have any fire-related skills to enhance its power, the flames did not have any adverse effects on the sword. The sword chopped down, bringing up a flame more than 5 meters long. Nightbell shouted, "Good," and swung his stick to block. The heavy stick shadows brought up streaks of golden light. Xia Xingchen recognized that this was an unnamed stick technique, but it was obvious that Nightbell's understanding of this set of stick techniques was deeper than Hao Cheng's. Xia Xingchen tried his best, and the more he fought, the more difficult it became. But he knew that Nightbell was not using even half of his strength now. Suddenly, he had an idea and suddenly changed his moves. The sword was no longer filled with flames, but emitted an invisible sword energy, which swiftly slashed towards Nightbell's neck. Night Bell lowered his head, and the sword energy brushed past his head, cutting off several strands of his hair. Good. The long stick in the hand of Night Bell increased the speed of attack, and Xia Xingchen was exhausted. In the end, he used a desperate fighting style, and did not defend at all. He attacked and saved every move, and finally managed to hold on. The two fought hard for more than an hour, and Xia Xingchen was exhausted. Besides, he had not eaten for more than a day, and was really hungry. Night Bell just had beads of sweat on his forehead. Xia Xingchen collected his moves, put the Ningfeng sword back into the scabbard, leaned on the sword, and gasped heavily. Boy, good, you have a very deep understanding of swordsmanship. It's hard to imagine that you just learned it. You just need to practice hard to enhance your skills and control over your moves. Your future is limitless. Thank you, old man, for the sword and guidance. The student should repay you with a spring of gratitude. Night Bell waved his hand. Xingchen, I know everything you do. You are a person with a sense of justice. I hope there will be more young people like you. The best way for you to repay me is to become stronger as soon as possible. Now the human civil war is about to start. After the war, the strength of the entire Milky Way will be discounted, and the Galactic Empire will also be seriously damaged. By then, it is very likely that alien forces will intervene in the Milky Way, and mankind will eventually face a catastrophe again. I hope that by then, you can grow up and do your parts for the survival of mankind. Chenja, you have to work hard too. Don't worry, old man. I will do my best to protect the safety of the Milky Way and human society. Yes, master. Night Bell looked at the two young men in front of him and nodded with a smile. Chapter 285, Assassinating the Princess. March 6, 2020. Shianyuan Star, the #1 playground of the Royal Military Academy. Today is sunny and the sky is clear. It is a good day to hold various outdoor activities. The rostrum of the #1 playground of the Royal Military Academy looks quite historical. It is a historical relic and is called the Dianjiangte. The last battle of Emperor Kinwu to unify the Milky Way was completed on this Dianjiangte. The ceremony started on time at 10 o'clock in the morning. The reason for choosing this time is that the royal guards verified the identity and security of everyone entering the venue. Mr. Hu Rongshan personally drove the angry King Kong mecha to guard outside the stadium. Hao Cheng's Monkey King mecha was also parked outside the stadium. Xia Xingchen also borrowed a high configuration version of the Dragon Rider War General mecha from the 1524 Mecha Club, and his Revenge Knight mecha was still on the Tangyang. The two princesses gave speeches on the Dianjiangte respectively, and the students watching in the audience below were excited after listening to them and expressed their desire to join the Princess Knights. The two princesses finished their speeches, walked down the rostrum, and began to accept the loyalty of the soldiers one by one. Xia Xingchen stood and followed behind Princess Kinjana, wearing a red and white knight's dress, with a long sword on his waist, which was the sword Qian, and a Ningfeng sword was stored in his portable mecha space. Knight Hao Cheng was dressed in the same way. He stood beside Princess Kinfenja, holding a golden alloy stick in his hand. In order to deal with special situations that might happen around him, Xia Xingchen activated the inside skill, and he could see everything within a radius of 300 meters. He scanned the crowd around him, and except for the weapons in the hands of several royal guards not far away, he did not find anyone else carrying weapons. Then, Xia Xingchen aimed his inside skill at everyone. Since using the inside skill to communicate with the weapon spirit in Night Bell's private armory a few days ago, Xia Xingchen found that his inside skill had changed. Whenever he used the inside skill to scan the people around him, he found that these people, even animals and plants, would emit different colors of light. These lights, like the soul of the weapon, represent an emotion of this life form. Among them, red represents love and passion, white represents pleasure, yellow represents happiness and excitement, blue represents indifference, purple represents fear, green represents discomfort, gray represents hostility, and black represents murderous intent. Most of the new members of the Knights in the scanning range of Xia Xingchen released red or yellow light. Today's oath-taking ceremony is a great honor for them. Many of them admire the princess very much, or even love her. The Knights of the Royal Guard on the side were in a very happy mood, so they emitted white light. However, in this piece of bright light, there were 2 black spots that were out of place. These 2 people actually emitted black light. This represents murderous intent. One of them was lurking in the crowd waiting to pledge allegiance to the princess. And the other was actually on a royal knight mecha that served as a ceremonial guard more than 200 meters away. Xia Xingchen sweated immediately. He carefully observed the person in the team who was emitting black light. From the surface, there was nothing unusual about him. Like other students, he was looking at the 2 princesses approaching with enthusiasm. Xia Xingchen could not even sense any murderous intent from him. But he knew that some skilled killers were very good at concealing themselves. The less flaws they could see, the more dangerous the opponent was. Moreover, he believed that his insight skills would not lie. It directly explored the spiritual world of people, or the soul. Thinking of this, he winked at Hao Cheng and told him to be careful. Princess Crossing and Princess Yu slowly approached. Princess Yu Qinfange's princess knights had already taken the oath, and now it was Princess Crossing's knights who were taking the oath. Princess Crossing walked to each person in turn, placed the scepter on their shoulders, and accepted their allegiance. Ribery had been waiting silently. Killing was a common thing for him, and it did not cause any emotional fluctuations. He was also very good at hiding his murderous intent. Because he knew that none of the people in the princess guard were given for nothing, and any murderous intent that penetrated would be detected. The princess was getting closer and closer to Ribery, and then some minor problems occurred outside the venue. There was more than one assassin group that accepted the task of assassinating the 2 princesses. They were limited in their ability, and could not enter the venue. A slightly smaller assassin organization hijacked 4 engineering mechas that were doing cleaning work in the Royal Military Academy. They installed a large number of explosives on the mechas and attempted to attack the venue under the control of several assassins to detonate the explosives on the mechas. The 4 mechas rushed to the number 1 playground from 4 directions. When the Royal Guard's mecha intercepted the first mecha, the other party detonated the mecha, causing serious damage to 2 Royal Guard mechas. Hu Rangshan, who was on standby outside the venue, had to go out to help intercept the remaining 3 mechas. The Royal Guard quickly sent a message and issued a danger warning, but the 2 princesses insisted on continuing the ceremony. The 2 princesses got closer and closer, and Ribery began to practice his skills secretly. When Princess Crossing walked in front of him, he knelt on one knee, stroked his chest with his right hand, and made an oath. At this time, his knees and left palms were accumulating power. When the princess's scepter was against his left shoulder, his body bounced up like a spring, and his left palm emitted bursts of black air, and he hit the princess's chest with one palm. This move is called the heartbreaking palm, which is extremely vicious. Once hit by it, the result is that the tendons and bones are broken, and the internal organs are shattered. Even if it does not hit the vital parts, a toxin will enter the body and quickly destroy the human tissue. The victim will bleed to death within a few minutes. Over the years, hundreds of people have died under Ribery's move, and no one has escaped. Just when he thought that Princess Crossing was about to die under his palm, a figure inserted between him and Princess Crossing. An extremely swift fist hit his chest. This punch was launched later and arrived first, as fast as lightning. He didn't even see the move clearly, and was hit hard. His sternum was completely broken, his internal organs were shaken into a ball of meat, and his body flew more than 10 meters away, and fell heavily to the ground. There was a burst of commotion in the crowd. It turned out that Xia Xingchen had been on guard, and when Princess Crossing approached, he took the initiative to attack. Since he had been hiding behind Princess Crossing, Ribery was not on guard. He was a little too confident in his camouflage skills, and he thought it was impossible for anyone to see through his ambush. When Ribery made his move, Xia Xingchen had already used half of his moves. Xia Xingchen used all his strength to hit the city with a battering ram, which could smash the huge granite into powder, not to mention Ribery's flesh and blood. The scene fell into chaos. Hao Cheng immediately held the long stick with both hands to block the princess. The members of the royal guard not far away also quickly came to surround the princess. However, the scene that happened next shocked them. A few hundred meters away, a royal knight mecha that was serving as a ceremonial guard at the scene suddenly attacked. The light blade of the mecha spear in its hand hit continuously, and the remaining 3 royal knight mechas were blown up without any reaction. The mecha cockpits were blown up. Then, this Royal Knight mecha turned around and ran towards the two princesses. Ribery's killing made Robin very angry. He planned to die together and kill the two princesses here. The members of the Princess Knights and the Royal Guards at the scene were completely stunned. Their flesh and blood bodies could not fight against the Mechas at all. The other Mechas of the Royal Guards were outside the stadium at this time, and it was too late to return to rescue. Sitting in the cockpit of the mecha and looking at the ants in front of him, the two princesses were only 30 or 40 meters away from his mecha, and Robin showed a cruel smile in his eyes. The mecha rushed into the almost unarmed crowd, and the only thing left was slaughter. However, what happened in front of him made him laugh even harder. He saw a man in red and white knight clothes, holding a sword, rushing towards his mecha. Robin remembered an old saying on Earth called a mantis trying to stop a chariot, and the man in front of him, holding a cold weapon, to fight against the mecha, was simply the most interesting thing he had ever encountered. Thinking of this, Robin raised the left leg of the mecha. He wanted to kill this ignorant ant in the most cruel way, trample it into a meat paste. Chapter 286, A Shocking Sword. UK 2020. On the number 1 playground of the Royal Military Command Academy on Xia Star, Princess Xingchen of the Star and Princess Qinfei of the Moon were assassinated by Robin and Ribery, the ace killers of the Galaxy Killer Group Shura Society. Among them, Robin was about to launch a surprise attack on Princess Xingchen of the Star. When he hit Princess Xingchen with his heart-breaking palm, he was hit in the chest by Xia Xingchen's powerful city-breaking hammer, and died on the spot. Robin took the opportunity to attack, and destroyed the other 3 ceremonial mechas, and then drove the mecha towards the two princesses. Robin's mecha was still 30 or 40 meters away from the two princesses. He saw a man rushing towards his mecha alone with a sword. His mecha raised his left leg, and wanted to trample this man into a meat sauce. Xia Xingchen opened his eyes wide at this time, and angry flames came out of his eyes. He couldn't allow anyone to hurt Xingchen. However, facing the mecha in front of him, he had no other choice. A distance of 30 or 40 meters was only a matter of seconds for the mecha. Even if he summoned the spare Black Duke mecha from the portable mecha space immediately, it would be too late. Moreover, seeing the clean and neat movements of the mecha master when killing the other mechas, Xia Xingchen knew that the mecha master in this Royal Knight mecha was no less skilled than himself, and he had no confidence that he could defeat the other mecha without hurting the two princesses. Xia Xingchen forced himself to calm down. At this moment, he could only rely on his own strength. Thinking of this, Xia Xingchen once again drained all his mental power, a part of which was concentrated on his body and the red flame sword, and the other part was used to support his body. Just when the Royal Knight mecha was about to step on Xia Xingchen's head, Xia Xingchen's body suddenly jumped up more than 5 meters high, and dodged the kick. At this time, the blood and ki in Xia Xingchen's body were running at a high speed, and the true ki and mental power in his body were infused into the red flame sword in his right hand. The red flame sword held high up started to burn, and the sword was glowing red. To outsiders, the red flame sword suddenly became longer and wider, and instantly turned into a fiery red giant sword that was more than 5 meters long and nearly half a meter wide. Xia Xingchen chopped the giant sword down with all his might. Since Xia Xingchen was facing the head sensor of the Royal Knight mecha at this time, Robin saw Xia Xingchen in the optical image, as if he was right in front of him. Robin was completely dumbfounded. He never thought that a human would dare to use his flesh to resist the mecha, and he didn't react at all. The next second, a huge blade of light cut from the top of the mecha, cutting through the head, cockpit, and power compartment of the mecha, and finally fell to the ground. After landing, Xia Xingchen quickly ran to the side, and a series of explosions were emitted from the body of the mecha behind him, and he fell backward heavily to the ground. Xia Xingchen was carried forward more than 10 meters by the shock wave of the explosion and the fall of the mecha, and fell to the ground. In order to boost morale, today's oath-taking ceremony will be broadcast live to the entire capital star region, and most media in other star regions will also record and broadcast it 2 hours later. The assassination incident happened very suddenly, and the director had no time to cut off the screen. This oath-taking ceremony was about to become a huge laughingstock of the Galactic Empire, and a tragedy that was destined to go down in history was about to happen. At this time, a hero appeared out of nowhere and defeated the assassin's mecha with his flesh and blood. Suddenly, the entire capital star region was boiling, and the morale of the Galactic Empire's soldiers and civilians instantly soared to the top. With such a hero protecting them, what else do the rebels of the Northern Empire have to fear? Xia Xingchen got up from the ground at this time, came to the princess, and stood in front of the princess. His strength and mental strength were drained, but the oath-taking ceremony had not ended yet, and he could not fall down now. Xia Xingchen supported his body with the red flame sword. His eyes were firm and sharp. The cameraman quickly zoomed in and aimed at Xia Xingchen's resolute face. This moment was forever frozen in the history of the Galactic Empire, and also appeared on the headlines of almost all media in the Galactic Empire the next day. Countless passionate young people were infected by this scene and signed up to join the army of the Galactic Empire, while countless girls were conquered by Xia Xingchen's charm and became obsessed with him, wanting to give birth to a baby for him. Xingchen quickly ran up and supported Xia Xingchen, who almost fell down. After a careful examination, she confirmed that he was not injured, and then she was relieved. Then, in full view of the public, Xingchen stood on tiptoe and gave Xia Xingchen a deep kiss. So the picture was frozen again, and became an eternal classic. No one thought there was anything wrong, including those who admired and loved Princess Crossing. On the contrary, countless people blessed them. The scene quickly restored order, and Hu Rongxin's mecha quickly entered the playground. In this way, in front of the wreckage of the Royal Knight's mecha on the ground, the two princesses completed the oath-taking ceremony of the Princess Knights. Xia Xingchen forced himself to support her to the end. After the ceremony, Xia Xingchen got into Princess Crossing's car. "I'm exhausted and need to sleep for a long time." "Don't worry." After that, he lost consciousness and fell asleep. After the assassination, the entire Galactic Empire reacted violently. The Ministry of the Interior and the Intelligence Department of the Empire acted quickly. They sent people to retrieve the bodies of the two killers and conduct autopsies as soon as possible. With the help of professionals sent by the Xianxia organization, the Intelligence Department quickly determined that the killer was the gold medal killer of the Galaxy Killer Organization Shura Society. It was also revealed that Nicholas hired a killer on the Skynet to harm the princess. Suddenly, the entire public was outraged. The people strongly condemned Nicholas's shameless behavior and demanded that the Galactic Empire severely punish the murderer. That night, the Galactic Empire held an emergency cabinet and military meeting. The attendees included Emperor Qin Zhi, Princess Moon Qin Fenja, Princess Star Qin Yana, Grand Elder Qin Yuanshan of the Imperial Elders Council, Grand Marshal Feng Bismarck of the Imperial Army, Chief of Staff Zhang Chenglong of the Imperial Army, Prime Minister N.K. of the Empire, Minister of the Interior De Yunfei of the Empire, as well as the heads of his four major intelligence agencies, the Minister of Finance of the Empire, the Minister of Propaganda of the Empire, and the person in charge of security on Xianyuan Star. Emperor Qin Zhi spoke first. "The assassination of the princess on Xianyuan Star today was very serious and had a very bad impact. I almost lost my two sisters. If the assassin's action succeeds, it will bring a heavy blow to the reputation and morale of the empire. You all can talk about this matter." Emperor Qin Zhi's face was gloomy and his tone was unhappy. He turned to Qin Yana again. "Sister, how is Knight Xia Xingchen now?" "Your Majesty, Knight Xia Xingchen is not injured, but he has overused his physical and mental strength and is still sleeping," Qin Yana replied. Emperor Qin Zhi nodded. "You all know what Knight Xia Xingchen has done all along. No matter how great his previous contributions are, it is not too much to reward him. This time, he used his body to resist the opponent's mecha and saved the two princesses and the empire from danger. I think you know how great his contribution is. If our empire does not reward him, it will be too disappointing for the soldiers. What are your plans for the military?" "We plan to promote him to Lieutenant Colonel immediately," Marshal von Klausch said. "You should have promoted him to Lieutenant Colonel a few months ago. Are you worthy of the soldiers' enthusiasm by procrastinating like this?" Emperor Qin Zhi got angry with the old marshal for the first time. "Your Majesty, calm down. It was my old minister who was not thoughtful." The old marshal gave in to the new emperor of the empire for the first time. Chapter 287, The Empire's Response. the Galaxy Empire held an emergency military meeting on the assassination of Princess Xingchen. Emperor Qin Zhi first reprimanded the military, believing that they were slow and ineffective in promoting Xia Xingchen. Seeing this, Elder Qin Yuanshan added insult to injury. If your military doesn't want a talent like Xia Xingchen, just give him to our royal fleet. He is here, and may have become a general now. We will give the best treatment to real talents. The royal fleet does not belong to the military system, and they also have a certain competitive relationship with the military, especially in the issue of competing for talents. The two often have contradictions and conflicts. Emperor Qin Zhi glanced at Elder Qin Yuanshan. Where was your royal guard when the accident happened? You have a lot of senior officials and enviable treatment, but how did you do security work? Where is your brain? He was very angry, and Elder Qin Yuanshan was speechless. Seeing that Qin Yuanshan was also scolded, the old marshal laughed in his heart, but said calmly on the surface, we will promote him to the rank of colonel immediately. If Colonel Xia Xingchen makes more military achievements, we will unconditionally grant him the rank of brigadier general. Emperor Qin Zhi nodded. He then asked, where did the murderer come from? Has the Ministry of the Interior found out? Dai Yunfei, the Minister of the Interior of the Empire, said, Your Majesty, we have found out the truth of the matter. A dozen days ago, shortly after we announced that Xia and Star would hold a swearing-in ceremony for the Princess Knights, the official websites of the major assassin groups in the Milky Way received a bounty mission to assassinate the two princesses on March 6th, which is today. The identities of the assassins and the venue today have been found out. The assassin who attacked the princess in disguise is named Bravery, and the Mecha Master is Robin, a B-level Mecha Master. They are both core members and ace assassins of the Shura Society, a famous assassin group in the Milky Way. There are more than 10,000 people who died at the hands of these two people, which can be said to be a lot of crimes. The four Mechas that exploded outside the venue came from a small-scale assassin organization, the Killer Brotherhood, which is a small organization that has been established for a few years. In addition, according to our undercover investigation, 8 other small and medium-sized assassin organizations also took on this task, but they were unable to complete it due to limited capabilities. Other large assassin organizations did not dare to participate. In addition, the largest assassin organization in the Milky Way, Xia Xingchen, informed us beforehand. They also sent a special person to assist in the investigation and provide us with intelligence. Xia Xingchen also stated that they would never accept any assassination missions against the royal family and the military and political leaders of the empire, and would unconditionally provide us with information about their employers. They also stated that they would do their best to assassinate important figures in the north. In addition, they are willing to send professional personnel to assist and guide the royal guard to make up for the current loopholes in our security. Emperor Qin Zhi thought for a while and said, all the assassin groups involved in this matter, even if they just accepted the mission, must be eradicated. I don't care who is behind them or what family supports them. As long as they are related to this matter, they will be killed without mercy. As for the Xia Xingchen organization, don't touch them for the time being. Give them a sum of money and let them help us maintain the order of the underground world. Pay attention to the slightest movement there, and then allocate a sum of money for them to deal with Nicholas. Of course, we must try to plant spies in these assassin organizations, and make sure they are under our control. They are a great destabilizing factor. After the war is over, it is time to completely liquidate them. I haven't forgotten the teachings of Qin Wu Patriarch. Seeing Emperor Qin Zhi giving orders, Prime Minister N.K. and Qin Yuanshan were very pleased. In the past 2 months, Emperor Qin Zhi had made rapid progress and had initially learned to think about problems with the mindset of an emperor. The next topic was very heavy. Emperor Qin Zhi's face was gloomy at this time. Let's talk about the security of Xia and Star. Xia and Star, the Royal Military Academy, is the core area of the Empire, and its security level should be second only to the Imperial Palace and the Imperial Army. But it was so easy for killers to infiltrate. Where is the review system that you are so proud of? Where are the security measures that you are so proud of? Tell me, how did the killer get in? The head of the Imperial Security Bureau stood up and said, we found 2 bodies in the landfill area of the Canal Space Station. Both of them were travelers who had passed the review and were going to travel to Star. We speculate that they were killed in the bathroom before they were about to board the shuttle, and then the killer took their place and stole their identity verification information. After arriving at Star, they did the same thing and killed the 2 students. Why didn't they do a DNA test before boarding the shuttle? Emperor ZHI asked coldly. The person in charge of the Star immigration office broke out in a cold sweat. We only conduct DNA identity verification on people entering Star for the first time. This way, we can reduce administrative expenses by 5%. This is a measure formulated by my predecessor. We have also thought about restoring comprehensive DNA identity verification, but the fiscal expenditure suddenly increased by 5%, and the higher-ups would not approve it. Listen to this. In order to get promoted and make money, the safety of the empire is used as the price. What a heavy price. It seems that they have made a contribution and saved money for the empire, but in fact, they use the safety of Star to achieve their own official positions. And their superiors only care about how much money there is, regardless of whether the empire needs it. This is the habit of bureaucracy. I order your predecessor to be dismissed and held accountable for dereliction of duty. The person who promoted your predecessor will be held accountable for negligence and dereliction of duty. You, as the person in charge of the immigration department, will be given a serious warning. I will let you go for now, and if such an incident happens again, I will double the punishment. Remember, you are responsible for the security of the empire. If your superiors or higher authorities interfere with normal defense work again, I allow you to report directly to the Royal Guards, the Imperial Security Bureau, or even the Ministry of the Interior. If they don't care about you, report directly to me. Yes, Your Majesty, I will do my best until my death. The person in charge escaped a disaster and nodded rapidly. Chapter 288 Xia Xingchen's influence. The room fell silent, and no one wanted to offend Emperor ZHI. At this time, the Minister of Propaganda of the Empire spoke. Your Majesty, today's oath-taking ceremony of the Princess Knights was broadcast live and recorded to the entire galaxy, and the public responded strongly. They were infected by the bravery of Knight Xia Xingchen. Now, the public demands the publication of Knight Xia Xingchen's heroic deeds, hoping to learn more about the hero. Look at this. Emperor ZHI pondered for a while and said, Xia Xingchen's deeds should be publicized, but many of Xingchen's deeds are a great shame for Nicholas, and I'm afraid that Xia Xingchen will be retaliated by the Northern Empire. What do you think? The old Prime Minister Nkei said, it must be publicized. Xia Xingchen has now aroused the interest of the people across the country. In terms of human nature, the more you conceal something, the more interested the people are in finding out the truth, and eventually many things about Xia Xingchen will be exposed. Why don't we issue a press release and use the spring and autumn style to pass over the part about the Northern Empire? This will satisfy the public's focus and then divert their attention to other places. Yes, Lord Nkei is right. It's decided. It's a pity that our army has lost a sharp knife. General von Klausch said angrily. Lord Marshal, this is wrong. It is very suitable to establish a heroic image during the war. Xia Xingchen, who was born in a miner, is still very young and a soldier. Establishing such an idol has a huge inspiring effect on ordinary people, military soldiers and even miners. From this perspective, Xia Xingchen plays a greater role than before. Chief of Staff Zhang Chenglang said. De Yunfei also expressed his opinion at this time. Anyway, camouflage technology is so advanced now. When the time comes, find someone to replace Xingchen and follow the princess, which will be a cover for his true identity. Everyone nodded in agreement. Sister Jaina, what do you think? Emperor ZHI suddenly remembered that he should ask Xia Xingchen about this matter. Jaina thought for a moment and said, I think Xia Xingchen should not be willing. He is not a person who likes to show off. But now he has been forced to do something. He has no choice. I will try to persuade him. But I ask you to remember one thing. Xia Xingchen is my lover. He will sacrifice everything for me, and so will I. Both of us will do our best for the empire. But please do not use Xingchen as bait or a political sacrifice. Princess Crossing's words were so powerful that no one in the room knew how to answer them. Responding or not responding seemed like they had something to hide. In the end, it was Emperor Qin Zhi who spoke. "Jaina, I swear in the name of the Emperor of the Empire that, as long as I'm the Emperor of the Empire, I will never allow such a thing to happen." The next day, all major media in the Empire reported on the front page what happened at the oath-taking ceremony of the Princess Knights yesterday, and also published photos of Xia Xingchen standing with a sword and the princess kissing Xia Xingchen in prominent positions. The people were very curious about who this young man who suddenly appeared to rescue the princess was. Soon after, their curiosity was satisfied. The major official media of the empire issued a press release to introduce Xia Xingchen's deeds. Xia Xingchen, male, 19 years old, from the Galactic Empire Manastar, born as a minor. When he was 15 years old, he participated in the mecha fighting competition on Manastar, and won the victory by defeating the strong with the weak. He was appreciated by General von Klausch, the commander of the Third Fleet, and was specially recruited to join the Third Fleet of the Galactic Empire to become an Imperial soldier. Xia Xingchen was sent to the military base of Watchstar to participate in the task of eliminating star pirates. There, he constantly honed himself, and the technology of Mechas made rapid progress. He passed the examination of D-level Mecha Masters. He also worked hard to learn mecha maintenance technology and accumulated a lot of mecha maintenance experience. In just over a year, Xia Xingchen destroyed hundreds of mechas of star pirates. Due to his brilliant record, he was recommended by the Third Fleet to study at the Imperial Military Command Academy. Not long after, Xia Xingchen passed the examination of Senior Mecha Repairman. Another year later, Xia Xingchen won the championship of the Mecha Maintenance competition in the Xia Star Military Academy Mecha Maintenance Design Fighting competition that year, and then the Dragon Rider Mecha he designed won the first prize in the Mecha Design competition. Then he won the championship of the Mecha Fighting competition with Knight Hao Cheng. It was this championship that made him the Guardian Knight of Princess Crossing. Later, in Princess Crossing's many visits, Xia Xingchen completed the task of protection very well. A few months ago, Xia Xingchen followed the 6th Squadron of the 3rd Fleet to the Death Star Sea Hotel to clear out the star pirates. Xia Xingchen also won the record of killing hundreds of star pirate mechas and more than a dozen small spaceships. Due to Xia Xingchen's outstanding military exploits, the Imperial military was originally going to award him the rank of Lieutenant Colonel, but in view of his miraculous performance in saving the princess from danger this time, the Imperial military awarded Xia Xingchen the rank of Colonel. In addition, Knight Hao Cheng's life story was also dug out. He was an orphan, adopted by a charity since childhood, and killed in sex on the border planet when he was a teenager. Later, he was admitted to the Imperial Military Command Academy and became the joint champion with Xia Xingchen and became the Guardian Knight of the Moon Princess Kinfanger. In order to make Xia Xingchen's deeds more complete, the Empire also uploaded multiple videos of Xia Xingchen's battles, including all his battle videos in the mecha fighting competition. There are also videos of Xia Xingchen disassembling and assembling mechas at high speed. In addition, the Dragon Rider Warlord mecha designed by Xia Xingchen also appeared after the character introduction, which is equivalent to the media of the entire galaxy advertising the Dragon Rider Warlord mecha. This is not over yet. Princess Qin posted a diary on her personal homepage. She told a story. The rebellious little princess escaped from Xia Star and wandered in the Milky Way after putting on makeup and unfortunately fell into the hands of star pirates. The princess was taken to the base of the star pirates. Just when the princess was about to despair, she accidentally met a small miner who was sent to the inside of the star pirate base as an undercover. With the help of this small miner, the princess finally escaped from the magic cave. For various reasons, the princess did not have the opportunity to thank and say goodbye to the small miner. Chapter 289 Influence of various parties. But fate is so strange. 2 years later, the princess found out that the young man who was about to become her guardian knight was actually the little miner back then. The princess's diary once again caused an uproar. Countless boys and girls were moved by this romantic and tortuous story. So for a while, people began to believe in fate and love again. After the report about Xia Xingchen and Princess Crossing came out, it received a warm response throughout the Milky Way, and countless people expressed their feelings. In the Palace of Siberia Star in the Northern Empire, Nicholas looked at the report on the big screen in front of him with a sullen face, and Yuri, Chekhov and Andrei were beside him. Damn boy, you dare to ruin my good thing. Nicholas the Great gnashed his teeth in hatred. Your Majesty, I suggest that the Special Operations Department of the Military Intelligence Bureau immediately start the assassination of Xia Xingchen. Once he is killed, it will have a great impact on the morale of the Galactic Empire. Chekhov didn't mind causing some trouble for his half-brother Yuri. This mission is thankless. What they can think of, the intelligence department of the Galactic Empire can also think of, and will definitely make targeted arrangements. Moreover, Xia Xingchen himself is also very powerful, and it is no less difficult to kill him than to assassinate the two princesses. Yuri looked at his brother coldly. This mission is impossible to complete, even if you think about it with your toes. Our military and intelligence resources in the Northern Empire are limited. Our funds and personnel must be used in more meaningful places, rather than letting them die worthlessly. Lord Chekhov, my good brother, do you think our wise emperor can't see your trick of killing people with a borrowed knife? Yuri was very angry. Chekhov's proposal was very vicious. Once Nicholas agreed, he had to execute it. Failure to execute it would be disobedience, and the failure to execute it would cause heavy losses to the intelligence department, and he still had to bear the blame. Since Chekhov has already made a black hand, Yuri will not hesitate to tear his face. Nicholas looked at Chekhov with a sullen face, his eyes full of murderous intent. This time, he was very dissatisfied with Chekhov. Nicholas likes smart subordinates, but the premise is that this intelligence is not used on him. He does not object to his subordinates tearing each other apart, which is also a way for the emperor to balance the power of his subordinates. However, the premise is that the interests of the Northern Empire and Nicholas the Great cannot be harmed. Chekhov undoubtedly stepped on a landmine this time. In order to frame his own brother, he did not hesitate to harm the interests of the Northern Empire. Chekhov was swept by Nicholas's eyes and suddenly woke up. He knew the taboos of the emperor too well. Chekhov knelt on the ground and kowtowed like pounding garlic. Your Majesty, I know I was wrong. I was blinded by lard for a while. Please let me go this time for the face of the old minister who has worked hard for your Majesty over the years. He cried very miserably. Nicholas struggled for a long time and finally made a decision. Chekhov, you are a smart man. A smart man who uses his intelligence in the wrong place is a fool. This is the last time. I will tolerate you for the last time. You know what this means. Nicholas said coldly. According to his usual temper, Chekhov must die this time. But now he really has no one available in this position. Once a fool is put in the position of Minister of the Interior, Nicholas cannot afford the loss caused. Chekhov was still kneeling on the ground, his head was broken, and blood was dripping on the ground. Emperor Nicholas did not continue to speak. He was thinking about how to deal with Xia Xingchen. At this time, Andrei, who was standing next to him, suddenly knelt down. Uncle Nicholas, I beg you not to send anyone to deal with Xia Xingchen. Oh. Nicholas was very surprised. Give me a reason? Your Majesty, 2 years ago I went to take the D-level Mecha Master exam, but I was defeated by a Mecha Master from Watchstar. And that Mecha Master was Xia Xingchen. Over the years, I have been thinking about defeating him all the time. He has become my inner demon. I beg Uncle Nicholas to leave him to me, and I will kill him with my own hands. Otherwise, I will never be able to break through the level of S-level Mecha Master. The room fell silent again, and only the sound of blood drops oozing from Chekhov's head slowly falling to the ground could be heard. Okay, I promise you, I will let him go for now. But you have to work harder and strive to become an S-class Mecha Master as soon as possible. Thank you, Your Majesty. I will repay your kindness with my life. It was not difficult for Emperor Nicholas to make this decision. First of all, killing Xia Xingchen would indeed be a thankless task, as Yuri said, requiring the mobilization of a large amount of resources. Second, Andrei was loyal to him and had good talent. He was 24 years old this year, and in the past 2 years of slaughtering Nicholas' opponents in the Northern Empire, he had made rapid progress and had reached the level of a B-class Mecha Master. It was very likely that he would become an S-class Mecha Master in the near future, which would be a great help to Nicholas. Third, Nicholas is an S-class mecha master himself, and he knows the impact of these inner demons on the growth of a mecha master. To become an S-class mecha master, in addition to the improvement of strength and the accumulation of experience, it also requires a lot of coincidences. Moreover, there are many things that can hold back a mecha master. For example, inner demons. Inner demons are a kind of obsession, which may come from a certain failure, or the defects in the character of the mecha master. Inner demons are not necessarily completely useless. In the early stages of the growth of a mecha master, inner demons can even urge the mecha master to devote all his efforts, and to a certain extent, accelerate the growth of the mecha master. However, when the mecha master grows to a certain stage, such as upgrading from an A-class mecha master to an S-class mecha master, it may become a bottleneck restricting the growth of the mecha master. Now Xia Xingchen is Andre's inner demon. Andre always lives in the shadow of being defeated by Xia Xingchen, and his mind keeps recalling the situation when he was defeated by him, which makes him have certain deviations in his judgment at critical moments. He always subconsciously wants to avoid this situation, which causes his movements to be deformed. You have to know that at the level of A-level and S-level mecha masters, every detail of the action may become the winner of the battle. Chapter 290 Influence of Various Parties. At this time, on the space station of Penglay-Star, a fat man, or a former fat man, was communicating with a beautiful woman on Cheyenne Star via ultra-long distance video. This kind of communication across two administrative districts has a delay of about 2 to 3 seconds, and it is not cheap. It costs 5,000 star coins per minute for a video call, but the two men and women at both ends of the device do not seem to care about this little money. These two people are Hans Grandet, the roommate of Yaoyi and Xia Xingchen. After they talked to each other, they talked about Xia Xingchen. Hans, your roommate Xia Xingchen is really not simple. Yaoyi exclaimed. Yes, the most successful investment in my life is to make a good friend like Xia Xingchen. What about me? Am I not the most successful? Yaoyi's words revealed a hint of sourness. Oh, my dear wife, I really love you. This is not an investment. Humph, you are sensible. But speaking of this, since this morning, our store has received orders for more than 800 Dragon Riders. I asked the factory of Xianwei 8 Tang Dynasty Group, and they actually received orders for more than 100,000 Dragon Riders. This is simply a miracle. They will open a special production line to produce Dragon Riders. Haha, I'm rich. At this time, the enthusiasm of the major mining areas in the Milky Way was also mobilized. Not long after the content of the hotel agreement was announced, the miners saw their hope. Then Xia Xingchen's deeds made him a role model for the miners again. Once people have hope and role models, they will be full of energy. As a result, the mining areas of the Galactic Empire are thriving. However, in the huge Galactic Empire, several women have complicated feelings. Zhang Yingying, Chen Tingting, Zhuo Qing, Li Qiru. On the one hand, they were moved by the story of Xia Xingchen and Qinjana, and wished them well. On the other hand, in their hearts, there was also a trace of sadness. Xia Xingchen lay in bed for 2 days, and finally woke up. After eating something to replenish his physical strength, he entered the state of meditation again. Every time his mental power was drained, his total mental power would increase greatly. But Xia Xingchen didn't like this feeling. It was too uncomfortable, and he didn't want to encounter such things again and again. After all, not every time you fainted on the battlefield, someone would come to save you. A day later, he was freed from the state of meditation, and suddenly felt refreshed, and his mental power increased a lot. Xia Xingchen found that he was not in the hospital, but in the medical cabin of the spacecraft. At this time, the hatch opened, and Princess Qinjana rushed in. She threw herself into Xia Xingchen's arms, and gave him her fragrant lips. Xia Xingchen's lust was also aroused, and the two of them kissed passionately. The other staff members were stunned when they saw this, but they immediately covered their mouths, and smiled and left. After more than 10 minutes, the two reluctantly separated. Xingchen, why are you so stupid? What should I do if you die? Qinjana shed tears. Jaina, in that situation, if I don't rush forward, we will all die, including your sister. Rushing forward was my only choice at that time. Xia Xingchen explained. Then do you know how cruel it is to see you die in front of me? Jaina, it won't happen again. Xia Xingchen hugged her and smelled the fragrance of her hair. The two of them snuggled up like this for a long time, and Xia Xingchen asked, "Are we on a spaceship?" "Yes, Brother Xingchen, we are on the Linen Heavy Space Cruiser. We are now heading to the Chang'an Starfield in the Western Administrative Region. We set off yesterday." Xia Xingchen nodded. Just after the Princess Knight's oath-taking ceremony, 2 more fleets were added to the battle sequence of the Royal Fleet, the Starry Fleet under the Princess Star Knights and the Moon Shadow Fleet under the Princess Moon Knights. The Starry Fleet will go to the Western Administrative District, while the Moon Shadow Fleet will assist the Eastern Administrative District in defense. The flagship of the Starry Fleet is the Linen class heavy cruiser they are on. In addition, the Royal Fleet also sent another 4 medium-sized mecha cruisers, a medium-sized space carrier Xia Xingchen and 6 small high-speed reconnaissance ships to escort the Linen. Although Xia Xingchen is a medium-sized space carrier, its size is far larger than the Linen, about 4 times the size of the Linen, and its firepower is not inferior to that of a heavy cruiser. There are also 20 mecha combat teams on board. However, because it is too large, a bit bulky, and its speed is also limited, it is basically used as a supply station and temporary base, and is not used as a flagship. In addition, compared to the Moon Shadow Fleet, the Star Glory Fleet has 1 more medium-sized cruiser, which is the Tangyang, which was borrowed from the 3rd Fleet. Kinjana then said to Xia Xingchen, "I have appointed Lieutenant Guo Yunmao as the commander of the Star Glory Fleet. He is indeed a very talented person. He has organized the entire fleet in an orderly manner. Moreover, the formation plan and combat outline he formulated for the Star Glory Fleet are all very good." As she said, she handed Xia Xingchen a reader. On it is the fleet strategy of the Star Glory Fleet formulated by Guo Yunmao. The Star Glory Fleet is based on the flagship Linen and the Xia Xingchen as a core fleet, and will carry out the task of coordinating the operations of the military forces in the Western Administrative Region. At that time, many local armed spacecraft will join the Star Glory Fleet. Guo Yunmao's idea is that the soldiers are more valuable than the quantity. They will select 5 to 10 medium-sized spacecraft with the strongest combat effectiveness from each faction, and divide them into groups of 5 spacecraft to form a small squadron. The Starry Fleet will send a staff officer and 5 spaceship pilots, 5 mecha divisions and 5 mecha maintenance divisions to each squadron. They will be responsible for commanding and coordinating local private armed forces and helping them improve their combat effectiveness. Moreover, they will be in units of 5 medium-sized space battleships, which will facilitate command and statistics. Moreover, even if they leave the main force to cruise alone, they can basically deal with all the spaceships infiltrated by the Northern Empire, because those spaceships are basically single spaceships. The large spaceships supported by the civilians are basically used for supply and transportation assistance. The small spaceships will be coordinated with the local military by the Princess Knights to let them join the patrol team and expand the strength of the garrison forces in various places. If all these spaceships are actually gathered together, it will look magnificent, but it will be useless, because the levels and types of various warships are uneven, and they cannot form combat effectiveness at all. Dealing with the trivialities of the fleet every day will annoy the commander to death. In addition, the elite soldiers of each fleet will be drawn and supplemented with a period of concentrated training, which will help them form combat effectiveness in a very short time. Xia Xingchen nodded with satisfaction. With the help of Lieutenant Guo Yunmao, our fleet is even more powerful. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 291 Captain and Staff. Xia Xingchen woke up from his coma after overdrawing his mental power and talked with Princess Kinjana about what happened in the past few days. Xingchen, there is something I want to tell you. Are you famous now? Xia Xingchen was a little confused. Jaina, what happened? What's going on? Kinjana told Xia Xingchen what happened at the cabinet meeting that day and the reactions of all walks of life in the Galaxy Empire in the past few days. She took a reader and gave it to Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen looked through some of it and found news about him everywhere. Xia Xingchen smiled bitterly. At that moment, he had no time to think about so many things. As a result, he made a big news. His flesh and blood sword split the mecha like a myth. It was simply shocking. Now there are even rumors on the internet that Xia Xingchen is already an S-level mecha master, and he is actually pretending to be a pig to eat the tiger. Others say that Xia Xingchen is an old monster in his 60s or 70s, reincarnated in a young man. Brother Xingchen, what is your current level of martial arts? Xingchen was also very curious. My mecha driving ability is barely up to the level of a B-class mecha master, and my martial arts level is only slightly better than that of an ordinary warrior. The reason why I was able to defeat that mecha this time was also due to luck. First of all, I got the very exquisite martial arts of Burning Heaven sword technique by chance, and the red flame sword that Night Bell gave me a few days ago has a great amplification effect on this martial arts. Second, that mecha master underestimated the enemy. With his strength as a B-class mecha master, he could easily dodge or block my attack. Maybe he didn't expect me to do that at the time, and his brain was in a state of rigidity, so he didn't react at all. If he had been a little alert, I would not have been able to hurt him. Third, that ceremonial mecha was just an ordinary version of the Royal Knight mecha, which was very fragile. If I faced a nuclear mecha with a light shield system or a heavy mecha with thick armor, it would be difficult for me to hurt it. Thinking back to this battle, I was really scared. Xia Xingchen had a clear understanding of his true strength. He explained it carefully to Xingchen to prevent Xingchen from misjudging his strength. A week later, the Xingqiao fleet arrived at the Chang'an Star region. Because the space shipping in the Chang'an Star region is too busy, it is very difficult for such a fleet to approach Chang'an Star. Fleet Commander Jiuo Yunmao believed that the fleet would be trapped in the busy waterway of Chang'an Star if it forced its way close to it, so it would lose speed. So he strongly requested to change the meeting place. Since leaving Xia Star, this guy has quickly entered the state of commander. Although he is bold in plotting, he is a person who is full of crisis in his bones. Xiang'an 2 is an industrial satellite with a diameter of more than 1,000 kilometers. It took the Tang Dynasty group hundreds of years to recycle the space garbage of the entire Chang'an galaxy and finally formed a steel monster of this scale. This is now the metal smelting base and warship production base of the Tang Dynasty group. The flagship of the Xingqiao fleet, the Linen Heavy Cruiser, finally docked at the berth. The hatch opened. Xingchen and others got off the spacecraft, and several executives of the Tang Dynasty group greeted the Star Princess here. In front of them, there were two familiar figures. Xingchen, Xiamin, Qiru. The three of them hugged each other tightly. Li Xiamin, the third son of the Tang Dynasty group, and Li Qiru, the little princess of the Li family, came to greet them in person. Li Xiamin was the first to let go of his hand, allowing his sister to occupy Xia Xingchen's arms alone. Li Qiru's eyes were filled with tears of happiness. Xia Xingchen hugged this beautiful woman with a graceful figure, smelling the fragrance emanating from her body. He found that Li Qiru, who was already 18 years old this year, seemed to have a better figure. After a long time, they remembered that they had neglected Princess Crossing and her group. "I'm sorry, Sister Jaina, we are rude." Li Qiru blushed and apologized repeatedly. "Sister Qiru, you are too polite. You old friends haven't seen each other for a long time. This is a normal relationship. I really envy you for having such a good relationship with Xingchen." After the greetings, everyone inspected the troops under the leadership of Li Xiamin. He introduced to Xingchen, "Our Tang Dynasty group resettles a large number of retired Imperial soldiers every year. These retired soldiers join our Tang Dynasty group's transportation department and security department. In order to reduce their discomfort of leaving the army, our Tang Dynasty group has always adopted militarized management, so they have always maintained a very strong combat effectiveness. This time the Empire is facing a war, and many soldiers in the group are eager to return to the battlefield to defend their country. We selected the best of them, based on their voluntary registration, and formed a task force consisting of 5 heavy battleships, 60 medium battleships and other 200 various spacecraft. They will assist the 6th Fleet in defending Xia Star. These 5 key class medium-sized mecha cruisers are the main ship types of our Tang Dynasty group. Each ship can carry 30 mechas for a total of 6 teams, and the battleships themselves have good firepower, which exceeds the firepower of most medium-sized battleships. The personnel on these 5 warships are the elite of the elite. They have been working together for many years and have done a lot of targeted training in the past month. Their combat effectiveness is not inferior to any main force of the Galactic Empire, and all the mecha divisions in the fleet are D-level and above. I hope they can help you. On behalf of the Galactic Empire royal family and the military, I thank the Tang Dynasty Group for its strong support to us. Princess Crossing said with emotion. Lysium then introduced to everyone. This is Captain Zupalu, the commander of our fleet. He has served in the 7th Fleet for many years and has rich combat experience. Later, he retired due to injury and later joined the Tang Dynasty Group. A middle-aged man with a height of about 1.9 meters and dark skin stepped forward and saluted Princess Crossing. People can see that his left hand is a mechanical arm. This is a soldier who retired due to injury. Princess Crossing and Jiuo Yunmao returned the salute. Welcome Captain Zupalu and all the soldiers to join the Zingayao fleet. Then she nodded to Jiuo Yunmao. Jiuo Yunmao understood and gave a loud order. The staff team of the 1st Squadron of the Starry Fleet, step out. 16 soldiers walked out from the team behind them. Among them was a combat staff from the Imperial General Staff, 5 warship pilots, 5 mecha masters and 5 mecha repairmen. The leader was a female officer in her early 20s. Lieutenant Zhang Lei, I appoint you as the Chief of Staff and Coordinator of the 1st Squadron of the Starry Fleet. Lead your men to assist Captain Zupalu in commanding the battle of the 1st Squadron. Jiuo Yunmao gave the order. Yes, sir. Lieutenant Zhang Lei agreed. Report to Captain Zupalu. Princess Crossing, Jiuo Yunmao and Zhang Yingying had spent a lot of time thinking about the selection of staff for each squadron of the Starry Fleet. They contacted the various local armed forces that would be loyal to the princess in advance and asked them for the information of the personnel who would become the captains of the squadrons. According to their data, they analyze the way this person handles things and personality traits, and then according to their personality and way of doing things, the Zingayao Fleet Command will send a combat staff with complementary personality and style to them. For example, the personnel matching of the commander and combat staff of the 1st Fleet. They analyzed from the information of Captain Zupalu that this is a captain who is vigorous and decisive in doing things. Moreover, he is experienced and very opinionated. For such a captain, if the combat staff who is paired with him has a hard personality and is too opinionated, the two are likely to fight, which will greatly affect the combat effectiveness. So Jiuo Yunmao had an idea and matched Zupalu with a female captain. Lieutenant Zhang Lei is very good at listening and very careful, and it is perfect to match Zupalu. Captain Zupalu loudly gave an order. All members of the 1st Squadron of the Zingayao Fleet board the ship. These crew members were indeed well trained and quickly divided into 5 teams to board their respective warships. Chapter 292 Showdown. Princess Kinjana and Xia Xingchen met Li Xiaomin and Li Qiuru on the Xiang'an 2 industrial satellite. They held a simple induction ceremony, and the 5 key class medium cruisers provided by the Tang Dynasty Group joined the Star Glory Fleet and became the 1st Squadron of the Star Glory Fleet. Captain Zupalu of the Tang Dynasty Group became the commander of the 1st Fleet, and Lieutenant Zhang Lei became the combat staff of the 1st Squadron. Li Xiaomin said to Kinjana, Princess, we have prepared a welcoming banquet. Please come with us to Chang'an Star. Kinjana looked at Xia Xingchen in embarrassment. Xia Xingchen understood what she meant and said, Xiaomin, I'm really sorry. We are in a hurry this time and have to rush to Rua Star immediately. Now the war is about to start. We must race against time. Let's meet again next time. Speaking of which, it was also Commander Jiuo Yunmao's suggestion not to stay here. He said that it would take 1 or 2 days to recruit each squadron. Then, after more than 30 local armed forces were recruited, more than a month would be wasted on socializing. If these events were saved, a lot of things could be done. Okay, Xingchen, we will see you later. You must take care of yourself. The two hugged each other tightly again. Looking at the Zingayao fleet gradually going away, Li Qiuru burst into tears. Xingchen, Sister Qiuru likes you very much. It seems that she is reluctant to let you leave. Jaina said to Xia Xingchen teasingly. Jaina, stop talking, Xingchen. I'm not a selfish person. They all have the right to like you. 2 days later, the Star Glory fleet arrived at the North Rhine industrial satellite in the Ruhr region. They agreed to receive the spacecraft of the 2nd Squadron here, because the waterways of the Ruhr are also busy and crowded. This is one of the spacecraft production bases of Krupp Industries. William Krupp personally welcomed Princess Crossing and her party. Krupp Industries' support for the Galactic Empire government is much greater than that of the Tang Dynasty group. After all, there is a blood feud for killing his father and brother. William Krupp prepared 5 of the latest rare Prince-class medium-sized mecha cruisers for the Star Glory fleet. The most well-trained crew members were selected on board. They formed the 2nd Squadron of the Star Glory fleet. The captain of the 2nd Squadron of the Star Glory fleet is Mickey Krupp, a distant cousin of William and a recently retired soldier. Anji Yuo Yunmao assigned Lieutenant Cross to him as the combat staff of the 2nd Squadron. However, unlike in Chang'an Star, Princess Crossing and Xia Xingchen stayed on the industrial satellite for one night. Xia Xingchen wanted to discuss the matter of the Jiaozi organization with William Krupp. The next day, the Star Glory fleet set off again, heading west. After nearly a month of sailing in the air, it entered the western border of the Western Administrative Region. Not far to the west is the famous space junk belt, which is sparsely populated and has no major interstellar forces. The Star Glory fleet has established 10 squadrons in this month. They will go south here and head to several major mineral planets, where several local armed forces established by interstellar mineral owners will also join the Star Glory fleet. Xia Xingchen, Jaina, Jiuo Yunmao, and Zhang Yingying were in the Combat Command Center on the Linen, discussing the training and running of these newly listed squadrons. Suddenly, an alarm sounded in the battleship. Report. At a distance of 12,000, a medium-sized battleship is approaching the fleet. At a distance of 10,000, the thermal pattern shows that there is a Rhine-class medium-sized mecha cruiser. At a distance of 8,000, the other party sent a communication request, requesting to contact Colonel Xia Xingchen of the Tangyang. Please connect the communication to the command center of the Linen Command Center, Xia Xingchen said. A few seconds later, the communication was connected, and a gray-haired figure appeared on the big screen. Father Free, why are you here? Xia Xingchen shouted excitedly. Haha, Xingchen, I'm here to greet the princess and teacher. Father Free looked at Xia Xingchen kindly. Command Center, please enter the identification code of this ship into the central optical brain. Jiuo Yunmao ordered. 1 minute later, the light spot representing this battleship changed from red, which represents a threat, to yellow, which represents neutrality and no threat. This is the Westphalen, the battleship of the Jiaozi organization. Xia Xingchen introduced. Jiaozi organization? Jaina was very confused. What I'm about to say is very confidential. Please keep it a secret for me. Xia Xingchen said seriously. Princess Crossing, Jiuo Yunmao and Zhang Yingying all nodded solemnly. Xia Xingchen continued to speak. Prince Nicholas has done a lot of bad things to our galactic empire over the years. He has used all means to destroy many families. So, we, the victims, spontaneously organized ourselves and established the Yazi organization, which means that Yazi will take revenge. Since Nicholas has done so many bad things and used all means to treat our relatives, we decided to retaliate in the same way. Up to now, the Yazi organization has been established for nearly 2 years and has already reached a large scale. The revenge against Nicholas is about to be launched on a large scale. Unlike other armed organizations, everyone in the Yazi hates Nicholas to the core. We have a blood feud with the Northern Empire, so the personnel composition of this team is very simple, and there is no need to worry about Nicholas's undercover. This time, Father Free came here to pick up Mr. Zuo Lehen to the Yazi base Longton to give some advice on the Yazi organization's arsenal. Princess Crossing asked, so has your Yazi organization considered joining the Princess Knights? Xia Xingchen said, Jaina, we Yazi will use all means to retaliate against Nicholas. These means may seem cruel and inhumane to ordinary people, but they are very necessary and someone must do them. For example, assassination, poisoning, creating riots, terrorist attacks, etc. These things are very dangerous and cannot be seen in the light. If we have anything to do with the Galactic Empire government or the royal family, once the matter is exposed, the Galactic Empire government will become the target of criticism. Therefore, we Yazzie decided to go it alone, and we will bear the consequences alone. Even if we have to go to hell, we will take Nicholas with us. We can accept secret funding from some organizations, that's all, but we don't want to implicate others. I hope you understand. Xingchen listened in silence. Chapter 293 Teacher and Student Reunion. When the Zingayao fleet was near the space junk belt on the western border of the Western Administrative Region, it encountered the Westphalian medium mecha cruiser of the Jiaozi organization. Father Free came on this ship to personally welcome Mr. Zuo Lehang. Xia Xingchen talked to Xingchen about the Jiaozi organization. Xingchen, you are in too much danger, so you should join us. Jaina, hatred is something that cannot be resolved. Most people in our Jiaozi organization have lost all their loved ones because of Nicholas. They have nothing but hatred, so I hope you can understand. The person who tied the bell must untie it. The sins committed by Nicholas must be washed away with his blood and life. Xingchen, go ahead and do it. I will fully support you. I plan to visit your Jiaozi headquarters base in a private capacity and give you some secret support at the same time. Princess Crossing thought for a moment and said. Xingchen had long decided to be Xia Xingchen's helper, not his burden. Then, she said to Jiuo Yunbao, Your Excellency Commander, I will take the Westphalian with Xia Xingchen to the headquarters of Yazzie, and will be back in a day or two. You stay here on standby, and can arrange for troops to cruise or exercise nearby. Yingying, please assist the commander in completing this task. Yes, Princess, Zhang Yingying replied. Jiuo Yunmao hesitated. Your Excellency, this is too dangerous. I can't let you take the risk alone. You worry too much, Commander. Xia Xingchen is my lover, and our relationship has been tested many times. You don't have to worry about me. And with Mr. Hu and Xia Xingchen protecting me, you can be more assured. But you must keep it secret. The Westphalian docked next to the Linen as instructed, and the two ships connected to each other, and lowered a personnel passage. Father Free, Perlo and Li Pai came to the Linen together. Old Free, I greet the princess. Perlo greets the princess. Li Pai greets the princess. Xingchen walked up quickly, supported Old Free, and returned the greeting. Xingchen greets Old Free. Princess Crossing used the etiquette of the younger generation to the elder. Old Free was stunned for a moment, and was at a loss. Father Free, I'm Xia Xingchen's girlfriend. Thank you for your careful care of him over the years. Without you, there would be no Xia Xingchen today, so please let me call you father. Xingchen said sincerely. Father Free was shocked by Xingchen's words, and then he looked at the golden boy and jade girl in front of him lovingly. It can be said that they are a perfect match. The soldier back then has grown into the princess's sweetheart. At this time, a mecha flew from the Tangyang to the Linen. Mr. Zuo Lehang walked out of the cockpit. Father Free rushed forward and knelt on his knees. Master, I'm unfilial and have failed your expectations of me. Mr. Zuo Lehang helped him up, and tears flowed from his eyes. Disciple, get up. This is not your fault. I don't blame you. I have been immersed in mecha research all my life. Back then, I was very puzzled that you gave up your career to seek revenge. It was not until 2 months ago that the Northern Empire sent people to kidnap and kill me and threatened me with my granddaughter. In that despair, I deeply understood your feelings back then. For us, mecha is not the most important, and career is not the most important. Family and kinship are the most precious things. It's a pity that we are stubborn and only feel the preciousness of things we have lost. So I decided to choose to defend my most precious things like you. Father Free burst into tears, and Xia Xingchen and Princess Crossing also shed tears of emotion. After meeting, Princess Crossing prepared for a while, and took Xia Xingchen and Hu Rungshan on the Westphalian. They set sail immediately, and headed for the space garbage belt. One day later, the density of space debris in front of us has become a great threat to the navigation of the spacecraft. But the Westphalian did not slow down at all. A special device on the spacecraft issued a command, and the space debris in front of us began to move in all directions under the push of micro thrusters. In the dense space debris pile, a clean channel that can only accommodate one spacecraft appeared. After the Westphalen passed, the space debris behind the spacecraft automatically returned to its original position, and there was no trace of anyone passing by here. Kinjana exclaimed in wonder after seeing such a situation. She asked Xia Xingchen what was going on. "Jaina, William Krupp of Krupp Industries has an extraordinary relationship with me. He is also a member of the JIOZ organization. This Rhine-class Westphalen medium-sized mecha cruiser was originally his father's flagship, and he also gave it to me. In the past 2 years, William Krupp has given us a lot of support. Funds, equipment, raw materials, mechas, and many technologies, including this system. In the past 1,000 years, countless black technologies have been born in Krupp's laboratories. Some of these so-called black technologies are too advanced, some are not in line with market demand, and some weapons are invented against human harmony, or because of technical bottlenecks, the technical route is deviated. The scene in front of us is one of Krupp's black technologies, the base hidden defense system. The principle of this system is to protect the secret base in the asteroid belt, and install thrusters, detectors and even high explosives on the surrounding asteroids and space debris. Usually, they block the route. Once the spacecraft arrives, the thrusters will work to push the garbage away to make way. After the spacecraft passes, it will return to its original state. If the opponent intends to break in by force, the defending party will detonate or control the asteroid to self-detonate and kill the opponent. However, this technology has great flaws. First of all, only organizations with ulterior motives such as star pirates will hide their bases in the asteroid belt. Second, this system requires at least hundreds of asteroids and large space debris to be hollowed out and transformed one by one, which is very expensive. These organizations cannot afford it. Third, if the asteroids and space debris near the secret base are not dense enough, the opponent can completely bypass the frontal defense of the system from other places around. Fourth, installing too many devices on an asteroid can easily reveal flaws and expose the location of the base. It is precisely because of these defects that this system was classified as black technology and sealed in Krupp's database. When the Yazi organization was first established, General von Klausch provided an abandoned resource smelting factory satellite that originally belonged to him as a secret base. Although the location of this base is already very remote, Father Free still feels that it is not hidden enough, so he installed dozens of large thrusters on the base and pushed it deep into the garbage starfield. Later, Krupp sent a large amount of materials and technical information. Father Free saw it at a glance in the vast amount of technical information and applauded. This is simply tailor-made for the Yazi base. In the space junk belt around the Yazi base, the most are the wreckage of spacecraft and satellites. Installing thrusters and other equipment on these space junk is not only very low cost, but also very concealed, because these space junk already have many electrical components and thrusters. More importantly, their base is now deep in the space junk belt, and the density of garbage and gravel around it is very high. As long as they guard a passage, Longton base will be absolutely unstoppable. Even Mr. Zuo Lehen was amazed at the application of this design. Chapter 290 for Longton base. 2 hours later, the spacecraft arrived in an open space. There are 4 satellites here, 2 industrial satellites, a large biosphere satellite and an armed fortress satellite. Father Free introduced, "Your Highness, teacher, this is the secret base of Yazi. We call it Longton. Legend has it that Yazi is the son of a dragon, and this place is easy to defend and difficult to attack. People living here are all desperate people like us, so we call it Longton. The number of people in the Yazi organization is not very large, less than 20,000. This is to maintain the purity of the team, and it is easier to manage with fewer people. Everyone only has the belief of revenge, and it is not easy for Nicholas's people to get in. In order to make up for the shortage of manpower, a large number of automatic robots and primary artificial intelligence are used here. At first, I also considered making some advanced artificial intelligence. Later, I remembered the teacher's teachings. For the safety of the entire human race, I did not use artificial intelligence." Hearing this, Mr. Zuo Lehen nodded with satisfaction. With the rapid development of science and technology, the threat of artificial intelligence is not just a concept, but a real threat that humans are about to face. In order to prevent this catastrophe, which has been played out many times in countless movies over the past 1,000 years, from becoming a reality, all sectors of human society have reached a consensus early on to prohibit the development of high-end artificial intelligence with self-replication and independent research and development capabilities. Once any organization or individual is found to be developing advanced artificial intelligence, they will be the public enemy of all mankind. Even the ambitious Nicholas is unwilling to touch it, because people can control it, and once artificial intelligence gets out of control, no one can bear the consequences. In addition, in order to stop the reckless exploration spirit of some crazy scientists, these famous scientists who conduct relevant scientific research have emphasized to their disciples the dangers of artificial intelligence getting out of control. Old Zuo is very pleased that Father Free can remember his teachings. In order to deal with Nicholas, the Jiaozi organization can use any means, but this cannot be at the expense of the safety of all mankind. Father Free continued to introduce, the space in front of us was full of the wreckage of spacecraft and mecha 2 years ago. We recycled them, and finally built it to the current scale. Among them, the number 2 industrial satellite was built last year, with a small spacecraft production line and 5 mecha production lines. We have produced several mechas and small spacecraft with very superior performance. Some are kept for our own use, and the other part is put on the market in exchange for the funds needed for the survival of the Jiaozi organization. Princess Crossing sighed, you really created something out of nothing. It's really not easy. Yes, this is thanks to the dedication and hard work of the old man and others, as well as the strong support of General William and General Klosh. Xia Xingchen said. Then it's better to thank Nicholas. Zuo Leo's words stunned everyone. He has done too many immoral things, and no one doesn't hate him. That's why we have so many like-minded people. This remark caused everyone to laugh. The group visited the 4 satellites without stopping. Industrial satellite number 1 is mainly responsible for smelting. Space robots and automatic cargo ships are constantly dragging the wreckage of spacecraft in the surrounding space garbage belt into resource satellite number 1. Then highly automated robots classify the wreckage and smelt it separately. The smelted renewable resources are sent to industrial satellite number 2 for the production of mechas, small spacecrafts and other weapons. Even those materials that are difficult to reuse are pressed into standard structural profiles for the manufacture of new satellites. The Biosphere satellite was just built a month ago. It can accommodate 100,000 people, but now there are less than 20,000 members of the Yazi organization, so it seems very empty. Now a large number of farmlands have been opened up here, and many animals have been raised, which has completely freed the Yazi organization from dependence on external materials. All members of the Yazi organization live here, except those on duty. Most of them were persecuted by Nicholas and their families were broken up. These people with a common goal gathered together, and they were like family members, and this planet was also called home by them. And the fortress satellite guards the only access to and from the Yazi base. There is also the Weapons Research and Development Center and Security Command Center of the Yazi organization. There is a mecha force of 1,000 people on it, which is also an important force, to guard the Yazi base. In addition, there is also a training center here, which is responsible for training technicians engaged in intelligence, assassination, sabotage and other operations. Mr. Zuo Leheng likes this place very much. He decided to live here for a while, to help Yazi improve their technical level. And Kinjana also made a decision to use her own strength to help Yazi. She will set up several foundations in the name of the royal family to help those who were persecuted by Nicholas and suffered in this war. Part of the proceeds of the foundation will be secretly allocated to the Yazi organization. Princess Crossing will also use the power of the royal family to help those companies established by Yazi in the Galactic Empire so that they can have more income. In addition, the two sides also exchanged views on intelligence exchange and mutual coordination. At this time, Father Free looked a little abnormal. It can be seen that he had something to say, but he was hesitant to speak. Princess Crossing was very confused. Dad, if you have anything to say, just tell me directly. I will never be vague, as long as I can. This matter concerns Xingchen. Xingchen, I hope you can stay calm when you see what's below. Don't worry, old man, I'm not a child anymore. I can bear it. Xia Xingchen looked like I didn't care. Daddy Free turned on the big screen in the conference room. It played several videos of mecha battles. This is a battle that took place in the Northern Empire from our intelligence personnel who infiltrated the Northern Administrative District. Nicholas forced the issuance of new currency and deprived merchants and large families of their property. Some people couldn't bear the oppression and wanted to resist, but were suppressed by Nicholas. Daddy Free had just said this when he found that Xia Xingchen's eyes were red and he was trembling all over. He almost bit his lip. Xingchen, what's wrong with you? Qinjana asked with concern. It was it that killed Freya. Chapter 295 News about the murderer. In the space garbage belt, in the meeting room of the Jiaozi base, Father Free, after a fierce ideological struggle, took out several mecha video materials. Dozens of mechas were suppressing those who resisted Nicholas. Later, it could almost be described as a massacre. The leading one was a mecha with a variable form, which was unique among other mechas in the Northern Empire. Xia Xingchen's eyes were red. He recognized that this mecha was the one that attacked Freya at the Watchstar base a few years ago. Xia Xingchen watched that video thousands of times, and he would never forget this mecha, even if he turned into ashes. Dad, who are these people? Xia Xingchen asked with strong anger. It is said that it is an elite mecha unit established by Nicholas, and they are all young elite mecha divisions under the age of 30. On the one hand, they help Nicholas suppress the opposition forces in the Northern Empire, and on the other hand, they use it to train troops. Free replied. As for who owns the mecha, it's still a mystery. Most of these videos are from the Bakel starfield in the east of the Northern Empire. Due to the long distance, the information can only be received once every few months. But Xingchen, don't worry. Once we have the latest information, I will inform you as soon as possible. Xia Xingchen left the meeting room silently without saying anything. Your Highness, Xingchen is in a very low mood. I have never seen him like this. Please help take care of him and enlighten him. After all, he is still a young man. He has too many things to bear. Zhuo Leheng said to Princess Crossing, and Qinjana nodded. At night, Xia Xingchen had a dream. This dream was very real. He dreamed of every bit of his acquaintance, understanding and love with Freya. Then, he dreamed of the battle and the destruction of the wrench number 2 driven by Freya. No, Xia Xingchen woke up from his sleep. He was pale and sweating. Qinjana, who was sleeping next to him, hugged him and patted his back. Xingchen, it's okay, everything is over. Xia Xingchen buried his head in Qinjana's arms and cried like a child. After a long time, he stopped crying and said, Jaina, I want to go to the north to find the true identity of that mecha master. I want revenge. But, Xingchen, it's too dangerous. Jaina, please rest assured, if I can't kill him, I won't act rashly, but I must find out who that person is. When our Galactic Empire's army recovers the north, I will settle accounts with him. Qinjana was silent. She couldn't bear to leave Xia Xingchen. Although Xia Xingchen was very powerful, it was a matter of life and death to go deep behind enemy lines. But she knew very well that this matter had become Xia Xingchen's inner demon. Xia Xingchen was also a very stubborn person in his bones. It was difficult to change his opinion on things he had determined. But in the end, she made a difficult decision. Xingchen, I said that I will do my best to help you avenge Sister Freya, and I will not hold you back. Since you have made up your mind, then do it bravely. But you must promise me that you will try your best to live and come back safely. You must remember that you are not alone in this world. I'm still waiting for you. If you are gone, how can I live alone? Jaina, I will come back, I promise. The next day, in the small conference room, the atmosphere was solemn, and Xia Xingchen told Father Free and Mr. Zhuo Leheng his thoughts. Although they were reluctant to let Xia Xingchen take risks, Xia Xingchen had already made up his mind, and the princess agreed, so they had no reason to stop Xia Xingchen. Qinjana returned to the Zingayao fleet on the Westfalen, and she still had her own mission to complete. Before leaving, Xia Xingchen's mecha was unloaded from the Westfalen. For a mecha master, safety is more guaranteed with a handy mecha in hand. Xia Xingchen originally wanted to go alone and sneak into the north through the smuggled snakehead. Even though the border between the two countries has been closed, there are still many northerners stranded in the Galactic Empire who want to sneak back to the north. There are also some criminals and desperados in the Galactic Empire who want to try their luck in the north. Besides, he has a portable mecha space that can carry mechas and other weapons, so he feels that his safety should be no problem. Even if he doesn't use the mecha, not many people can threaten him with his martial arts. Father Free strongly opposes Xia Xingchen's action plan. Such a trip is too risky. Many stowaways died on the journey. Some snakeheads are scammers themselves. They inject drugs into the stowaways to make them unconscious. After looting their belongings, they throw them directly outside the spacecraft and become cold floating corpses in space. Xia Xingchen's idea has too many uncontrollable factors. No matter how strong you are, it is unacceptable for Father Free and Old Zuo to gamble with a success rate and survival rate of less than 20%. Xia Xingchen discovered the murderer of the Mecha Master who killed Freya in the intelligence sent back from the north by the Yazi organization. He persuaded Kinjana and others to go to the Bakel starfield in the east of the Northern Administrative Region to find the true identity of the murderer. He originally wanted to sneak over alone. This dangerous idea was strongly opposed by Father Free and Mr. Zuo Lehang. Father, I have a portable mecha space, and my martial arts are not my opponent. Xia Xingchen kept emphasizing that he had no problem. No, if the spaceship you are on hits an asteroid and explodes instantly, or dives into a black hole, or you are anesthetized and thrown into space, can you still survive? Moreover, martial law has been implemented in the Northern Empire, and almost all civilian space flights have been cancelled. Even if you reach the north, how can you get to the Bakel starfield? Continue to smuggle? You must know that Nicholas needs someone to transport supplies, so he turns a blind eye to cross-border smuggling and smuggling. But once you do this in the Northern Empire, you will be accused of treason and shot on the spot, or anesthetized and thrown into space after being caught. How can you survive? You should be honest and prepare seriously. I have prepared a spaceship and helpers for you. Father Free brought Xia Xingchen to the armed fortress satellite. They got off the aircraft and came to a spaceship berth. In front of them was a streamlined, dark-colored small spaceship. Chapter 296 Julian and Baum. Aurora second small high-speed spaceship. Xia Xingchen recognized the model of this spaceship at a glance, but Father Free smiled and shook his head. This spaceship is far from being as simple as it looks. At this time, there were already 4 people waiting there, led by Perlo. They are your comrades who went to the north with you. Dad, why should I involve so many people in my own affairs? Don't be so self-indulgent, kid. They were also going to the north to perform special tasks. They took you with them just on the way. You can learn something from them and perform some intelligence and other tasks together. At this time, Perlo took the initiative to come over and introduce Xia Xingchen to the people next to him. Brothers, this is Xia Xingchen, the most popular figure in the Milky Way, the princess's guardian knight, a sea-level mecha master, a senior mecha repairer, and a warrior who can cut mechas with a sword. Xia Xingchen saluted several people. Perlo then introduced Xia Xingchen to several of his other comrades who were about to go to the north to fight together. The first one was a tall and thin white man about 185 cm tall. He was not very old and looked about the same age as Xia Xingchen. He had a baby face and looked a little silly and cute. He was the type that girls liked very much, but his blue eyes revealed deep melancholy. His name was Julian. He was 21 years old, and he was an excellent spaceship pilot. Julian's life experience was similar to Vivian's. His father was a spaceship pilot. He grew up on a spaceship since he was a child, and had been to most places in the Galactic Empire with his father. The spaceship was his toy. 2 years ago, Julian's father used his life savings to buy a large cargo spaceship to transport a lot of minerals from the Western Administrative District to the Northern Administrative District for sale. As a result, the people of Northern Heavy Industries forcibly took away the ore at a price far below the cost. Julian's father was dissatisfied and went to the court of Siberia to sue Northern Heavy Industries. Northern Heavy Industries was one of Nicholas' most important industries, so Julian's father's fate can be imagined. the government of the Northern Administrative District put several unfounded charges on Julian's father, put him in prison, and confiscated their spaceship. Moreover, they also instructed the prisoners in the prison to torture Julian's father to death. Upon hearing this bad news, Julian's whole world collapsed. But the matter is not over yet. The people of Northern Heavy Industry actually want to kill Julian by cutting the grass and killing him. Fortunately, Julian was rescued by the people of Yazzie on the way to escape and joined the Yazzie organization. Julian's father mainly ran the route from the Western Administrative District to the Northern Administrative District, so Julian was very familiar with the routes here, including some secret passages, and his driving skills and spaceship maintenance skills were also excellent. The second person was a white fat man with black framed glasses and brown hair. Suddenly he looked like Hans Grandit. This guy's name is Baum, and he is 28 years old. Baum's father is a prospecting expert and blasting expert. He searches for new mineral resources on remote planets in the Milky Way. A few years ago, Baum's father found a new mineral planet in the Northern Administrative District and explored the mineral reserves and veins. According to the imperial law, he could report the mineral situation to the local government and receive a high reward. However, after Baum's father happily reported the situation of the mineral planet to the Northern Administrative District government, he did not receive a generous reward, but a notice saying that a prospecting team had already discovered those veins and he would not receive a penny. Baum's father was dumbfounded. These prospectors paid for their initial prospecting expenses themselves, the cost of the spacecraft, the cost of hiring people, and the compensation for the death and injury of the crew members were all considerable expenses. Most of these prospectors were heavily in debt, and they hoped to discover new mineral deposits and get government rewards to pay off their debts. Moreover, according to regulations, prospectors who discover new mineral deposits should upload the details of the mineral deposits to the Xianwang website for record as soon as possible. Once it is recorded, other prospectors can see the relevant information and they can no longer apply for it. Baum's father can be sure that he was the first to apply. Moreover, this planet is very remote and there are no other prospecting teams at all. But it is obvious that the prospecting team mentioned by the Northern government did not do so, which means that they are illegal. Baum's father was so depressed that the creditors came to collect debts one after another, so he shot himself. Baum's mother was heartbroken and committed suicide by taking poison. Later, after much investigation, Baum learned the truth of the matter. It turned out that there was a big mine owner in the north who was one of Nicholas's main financiers, and he had his eyes on this mine. According to the laws of the empire, the prospector's reward includes 5% of the future mining income of the proven reserves of the mine. The reserves of this mine are very huge, and the mine owner is unwilling to give up such a large piece of income, so he bribed the people of the Ministry of Mineral Resources of the Northern government to tamper with the results of the prospecting, and the prospecting team belonged to this mine owner. Baum almost went crazy when he learned the results, and he launched a revenge action against the Northern government. Explosives are often needed when prospecting, so Baum has had a great interest in explosives since he was a child. He studied chemical engineering in college, and studying explosives and blasting methods was his biggest hobby. This guy can even make 4 or 5 kinds of explosives with things in ordinary people's kitchens. So Baum, who was eager for revenge, took very severe revenge on the mine owner and the Ministry of Mineral Resources of the North. The maglev car of the big mine owner was blown up by the explosive packs that fell from the sky, and there was no whole body left. The Ministry of Mineral Resources of the Northern Empire was also attacked by several parcel bombs, causing heavy casualties. Later, he heard that Nicholas condoned the Ministry of Mineral Resources of the North to do so. Nicholas believed that the interests of such an ant were far less important than the interests of his own financial backers. Baum decided to launch a more severe revenge on the Northern government, but because his purchase of explosive raw materials had attracted the attention of the Ministry of the Interior of the Northern Administrative Region, he was cautious and did not act immediately. It happened that at this time he met the people of Yazzie and joined the Yazzie organization. Chapter 297, The First Spaceship. Perlo introduced Xia Xingchen to several comrades who were about to go to the Northern Administrative Region. The 20-year-old young spaceship pilot and the 28-year-old bomb maniac Baum. The third person was named Keela, a mixed-race child of white and yellow people. After humans entered the space age, mixed-race children almost accounted for half of the total human population, and there were even a small number of mixed-race children of humans and aliens. Keela was an orphan. He was abandoned on the space station since he was a child and was adopted by his master when he was about to die. Keela's master was not an ordinary person. He was the third-ranked killer on the galaxy killer list. He saved Keela, raised Keela to adulthood, and taught Keela all his skills. A few years ago, Keela's master accepted an assassination mission, but Nicholas didn't know that this mission was to get rid of a minister of the northern government who was against him. Keela's master completed the task, but not only did he not get the reward, but was killed by the Ministry of the Interior of the northern government. Keela was determined to avenge his master, but Nicholas was heavily guarded and was an S-class mecha master. He couldn't do it with his ability, so Keela set his sights on assassinating the military and government officials of the Northern Empire. Keela also had a little junior sister, who was the daughter of his master, and had learned the skills of a killer. Later, the two brothers and sisters joined Yazzie together, and now he and his junior sister are now assassination instructors of Yazzie. Xia Xingchen greeted the three people enthusiastically, and the three people had a very good first impression of Xia Xingchen. They admired Xia Xingchen's ability very much. After all, it is not something that ordinary people can do to be able to split a mecha with a sword, and a senior mecha repairman will be respected wherever he goes. The most important thing is that such a guy is less than 20 years old. Generally speaking, those who are capable have a temper and personality, but Xia Xingchen has no airs, is approachable, and greets them enthusiastically, which immediately won their favor. Then, Julian took the initiative to introduce the spaceship in front of them to Xia Xingchen. The Evil Thoughts is a small high-speed reconnaissance spaceship, which belongs to the Revenge 3 small high-speed spaceship in the sequence of Gyrozy. It is 60 meters long, 20 meters wide, and 18 meters high, in the shape of a streamlined cone. Its power system has a large controlled nuclear fusion engine and two macro-controlled nuclear fusion engines, and the thrusters are a super large thruster and 4 small thrusters. The front, middle and rear of the Evil Thoughts have 3 pairs of foldable flying wings, which can be used in the atmosphere. This is an excellent all-weather multi-environment spaceship. The reason why it looks like the Aurora 2nd spaceship is that the appearance design of the Aurora 2nd is indeed unique, and on the other hand, it is also to conceal people's eyes and facilitate action. The weapon system of the Evil Thoughts is 4 large laser main guns and 4 twin laser rapid fire guns. The maximum range of the main gun is 500 kilometers. The Evil Thoughts can carry up to 4 mechas and 2 space fighters. The cockpit is approved for 5 people, but it can be controlled by 1 person using the AI integrated driving method. In addition, the Evil Mind has 2 light shield systems and 4 mirage generators, which give it good stealth performance and anti-strike capabilities. After listening to Julian's introduction, Xia Xingchen was very satisfied with the performance of this aircraft. Now this small spaceship is equipped with 3 mechas, namely Perlo's White Death Mecha and the Revenge Knight Mecha, that has just been transported. There is also a modified Space Knight Mecha. This Space Knight Mecha is used by Keela. It's a pity, Xingchen, the progress of the new mecha built for you is only 40%. This time the teacher is here, and the progress will probably be accelerated. Father Free said regretfully. He has always wanted to build the strongest mecha for Xia Xingchen, but all along, it was either because of new ideas or insufficient materials. Now that Zuo Leo is here, this goal is expected to be achieved. It's okay, Father Free. I'm very satisfied with the performance of my Revenge Knight mecha. As long as I don't meet an S-level mecha master, it will be difficult for anyone to keep me. And this time, with Master Zuo here, he will definitely be able to better exert the power of the Dragon Core 1. In the next few days, Xia Xingchen and his 3 comrades began the final preparations before departure. When resting at night, Xia Xingchen actually saw an old acquaintance on the biosphere satellite, Dr. Lila. Dr. Lila is a famous surgeon from Changwei 2nd. He is best at replacing artificial organs and armed prostheses for people. For example, Perlo's electronic eyes and Li Xiang's armed mechanical arms were manufactured and installed by him. 2 months ago, Nicholas decided to continue the paralysis operation. They assassinated and kidnapped the top talents in the Galactic Empire. Dr. Lilo was also on their list. The reason is simple. During the war, countless people will be disabled and lose their combat effectiveness. Although the use of biological treatment cabins can also achieve regeneration of broken limbs, the cost is expensive and the treatment cycle is too long. If armed prostheses are used, not only will the cost be greatly reduced, but the combat effectiveness of the disabled will also be improved. The treatment time is also very short, and they can quickly return to the battlefield after treatment. Moreover, the people of the Northern Empire have always been tough, and Nicholas also encourages domestic warriors and mecha masters to fight each other to improve the overall combat effectiveness. This also leads to a situation where there are many disabled people in the Northern Empire due to injuries. If these vicious guys are equipped with powerful armed prostheses, the Northern Empire will instantly have many more warriors with very strong combat effectiveness. Dr. Lilo was hijacked by the Northern Empire when he was traveling from Changwei 2 to Antarctica to attend a medical seminar. It happened that Li Xiang and Perlo came to Changwei 2 to upgrade the electronic eyes and armed prostheses. They learned the news and quickly returned to the West Villain to chase and intercept the Phantom spaceship in the north. After a fierce boarding battle, Dr. Lilo was finally rescued. However, during this hijacking operation, Dr. Lilo's relatives were on his private spaceship, and they were all killed by the Northern Empire. Dr. Lilo was extremely angry. When he learned the identities of Perlo and others, he resolutely joined the Yazi. He followed the West Villain to the Longton base. Here, he helped the Yazi organization to establish an armed prosthetic production center. He also selected 4 smart and clever students with mechanical foundations from more than 1,000 medical staff here to teach them the skills of prosthetic installation and design. In addition, Dr. Lilo also gave most of his savings to Father Free as a revenge fund. He had only one request: to kill Nicholas and avenge his family. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 298: The Situation in the North. The preparations for the Evil Thought were completed, and several people were in the living room of the Evil Thought to plan their itinerary for this battle. In the past few days, there was one more person in their team. It turned out that when Hugo learned that Xia Xingchen was going to the north to take risks, he went berserk and insisted on going with him. Without Xia Xingchen, no one could order him, and no one could beat him in close combat. Seeing this, Kinjane especially approved Hugo to take his mecha and follow the West Villain back to Longton base. Hugo also joined their action, and the Terami warrior mecha was also sent to the Evil Thought. Their itinerary this time was to go directly north, not to Lowland Star, but to enter the Sakhalin Star region directly from a hidden small wormhole in the space garbage belt, and then continue north, avoiding the heavily guarded border of the Northern Empire, and then go all the way east, cross the Baku Star region, and finally reach the Bakel Star region. If everything goes well, it will take 3 months. It was already the end of March, and they had to hurry up, otherwise it would be difficult to get back after the war started. After bidding farewell to Mr. Zuo Lehung and Father Free, the Evil Thought small high-speed spaceship finally set out on its journey. Due to Hugo's temporary joining, there are now 4 mechas and 2 small space fighters on the small spaceship. The space in the cargo hold is not big anymore, so the original activity room was converted into a cargo hold. Julian drove the spaceship at high speed. After a period of observation, Xia Xingchen was very confident in his skills. This young man drove the spaceship very steadily, and his movements to avoid obstacles were smooth and flowing. The members on the ship could hardly feel the vibration of the spaceship. Julian and Perlo were in a group, while Xia Xingchen and Keela were in a group, taking turns to drive the spaceship. Keela often took such a smuggling route, so he took the initiative to volunteer to be Xia Xingchen's navigator. At the same time, Keela was also the commander-in-chief of this operation. He has killed countless people in the Northern Empire in recent years, and is very familiar with the situation there, and knows the route well. Xia Xingchen chatted with Keela while driving the spaceship. Both of them are leaders in their respective industries, so they have a lot of common topics. Since Xia Xingchen has a spiritual clone, chatting does not affect his driving. Ale, tell me about the Northern Empire. What kind of place is it? Xia Xingchen was very curious. He wanted to fully understand the Northern Administrative Region to facilitate future operations. Keela, who has been active in the North for many years, knows it very well. How should I put it? To sum it up in one sentence, the people are tough, they respect the use of force, and the strong are respected. Keela introduced. There is a saying that poor mountains and bad waters produce unruly people. Most planets in the Northern Administrative Region are short of natural resources and have a harsh environment. In that environment, the most effective way to allocate resources is competition. If you want to occupy more resources, you must continue to become stronger, defeat or even kill your competitors. Therefore, people in the Northern Empire have been practicing martial arts since they were born, and they grow up step by step in fighting. And because it is too poor there, with few assets and concerns, people dare to risk their lives and fight desperately. They are not afraid of death at all. There, street fights and murders are commonplace. This is also the most difficult thing in the future war. Oh, the government doesn't care? The government? Keela smiled. The officials of the Northern Empire's government are the darkest and most lawless. The power in their hands is just a tool for them to seek personal gain. In order to gain the support of these people, Nicholas bought and sold officials and allowed them to be corrupt. As long as these people are loyal to him and dare to work for him, he really doesn't care about the lives of civilians. If a person like Nicholas were allowed to rule the Galactic Empire, it would be a catastrophe. Xia Xingchen said unwillingly. This man is ruthless. The reason why my master took that mission was because the man who was killed was not a good guy, and he owed someone a favor, so he had to take action, and was finally silenced by Nicholas. Keela said bitterly. So according to you, if we meet people from the Northern Empire, we must be ruthless, right? Only by being more ruthless than them can we win respect and be less likely to be suspected, right? You are right. And for a stranger who has just arrived in the Northern Empire, if you are not ruthless, but timid, it is not just a matter of being bullied, but it is very likely that those people will swallow you up without leaving any residue. We are going to land on multiple planets in the north this time, and we will inevitably have to deal with Northerners. We must beat them until they surrender. Xia Xingchen nodded. Oh, by the way, Ale, we are going to the Northern Empire as smugglers this time, but we don't have any goods. Keela smiled. Xingchen, we have goods, but we are not loading them now. When we cross the border, we will meet many smugglers. We can rob one or two at that time, and we will have goods. Xia Xingchen was a little confused and frowned. Keela hurriedly explained. Xingchen, do you think that doing this is as dishonorable as being a star pirate? In fact, you don't have to have any psychological burden. First of all, the Galactic Empire has announced sanctions against the Northern Empire for almost a year, and even if it has declared war, it has been 4 months. If some people smuggled some goods to make some money when the border was first closed, it was understandable, but now that war has been declared, no matter what the reason is, it is an act of treason to the enemy to deliver strategic materials to the Northern Empire. Such traitors must be punished by everyone. Second, after the declaration of war, the smugglers in the Northern Empire are basically not clean. Most of them are criminals, desperados, drug dealers, snakeheads, and even star pirates. We deal with them to eliminate harm for the people. Third, even if we don't cause trouble for them, there will still be blind guys who come to rob us. The most common thing these interstellar smugglers do is to rob the smugglers, and we are just eliminating harm for the people. Another thing is that the North is now issuing new currency, and we have to get some money to spend. New currency? We can also exchange it with star coins. Xia Xingchen was a little puzzled. That new currency is used by Nicholas to make money. It's almost like waste paper. The inflation rate in the North is very high now. Is he crazy to exchange star coins for new coins at a 1-to-1 ratio? Xia Xingchen blushed. Keela continued. So, we use the stolen goods to exchange for some new coins. In fact, it's just a cover-up. and one of the main purposes of using these goods is to find the location of some important material warehouses and factories in the north. We will do something with the shipping boxes of these accessories. Then it will be time for Baum to show his skills. Xia Xingchen suddenly realized. Chapter 299 On the road. 6 days later, the small high-speed spaceship Evil Thought finally arrived at the border between the Western Administrative District and the Sakhalin Star region in the north. This place is very far from the Lowland Star region, and there is basically no conventional route, but you can occasionally see a small patrol of the Galactic Empire military passing through here, in order to conceal their presence and allow the crew to enter the state in advance. Once they find the patrol, they will quickly turn on the Mirage system to camouflage and wait for the patrol to pass before they continue to move forward. After another day of intense driving, they came to the junction of the space garbage belt and the asteroid belt. Here, asteroids, rubble, and space garbage are scattered everywhere. Even small spacecrafts have a hard time here. Both patrols and smugglers are difficult to see here. Looking at the situation outside the cockpit, Xia Xingchen frowned. At this time, Julian stopped the spacecraft, turned on the Mirage system, and fixed the spacecraft to an asteroid with 3 anchor chains, and went back to the rest cabin to sleep. What's going on? Xia Xingchen was a little dumbfounded and asked Keeley in confusion. It's okay, let's all go and rest. It's very safe here, and no one else will come here. The next day's journey will be very crazy and exciting, and only Julian can handle it. We probably need to fight continuously for more than 20 hours, so rest well and recharge your energy. Keeley explained the situation to Xia Xingchen and then began to meditate in the cockpit. Xia Xingchen understood and entered a meditative state. After more than 10 hours, everyone had rested and had a full meal, and they all came to the cockpit in high spirits. Only Yugo was reading a book in the cabin. After Yugo came into contact with human martial arts, he began to try to integrate human martial arts with the martial arts of the Terami people. The Terami people's fighting is more based on talent, that is, relying on the strength of the body itself. And Yugo integrated their martial arts with the skills of human martial arts, such as feints, internal strength, ki and blood, and ways of exerting force. In addition, Yugo also found that human cultivation methods such as tortoise breathing and meditation are also applicable to the Terami people, so he found a lot of books to learn these knowledge. Julian fastened his seatbelt and held the joystick with both hands. Perlo sat in the co-pilot's seat. Retract the anchor chain and shut down the Mirage system. All engines are turned on, the light shield system is turned on, the power is turned to the maximum, and the shipborne weapons are charged. Julian operated while reminding other crew members loudly. The evil mind is started, the autopilot system is turned off, and the engine power is 40%. Perlo, the weapon system is handed over to you. Don't let go of the rubble and space debris that are larger than the size of the mecha. Remember to hit the upper ones first. Understood, Julian. Perlo was very excited and eager to try. He is not the same as ordinary snipers. Those ordinary snipers are usually very calm before meeting the enemy, but Perlo is completely different. He is a sniper on the battlefield. He not only has higher requirements for shooting accuracy, but also for the rate of fire. Once Perlo enters the state of combat, his spirit will be as excited as chicken blood. And for him, the more excited he is, the higher his accuracy and the better his state. Let's go. Julian shouted, and the spaceship rushed out. Although the main engine power was only 40%, the speed of the evil mind itself was 80% faster than other small high-speed spaceships. In addition, the dense space debris in front of the cockpit passed by the glass, which seemed to be very fast, making people feel dizzy. Perlo connected the electronic eye to the main control computer of the spaceship, so that all the weapons on the ship could be controlled to fire at the first time. The laser cannons fired in turn, smashing the large pieces of rubble in front of them. The remaining small fragments hit the outer shell of the spaceship and made crackling sounds. Fortunately, this spaceship was specially made, with thick armor and a special spaceship armor alloy. In addition, the 2 light energy shield systems worked at the same time and did not cause major damage to the spaceship. People will forget time when they are in a highly tense state. 20 hours passed in the blink of an eye, and the density of space debris, asteroids, and space debris in front of them decreased a little. After walking a little further, the channel was completely clear. Perlo, stop shooting. The weapon system and the light shield system are cooling down and self-checking. Julian gave the order. Perlo did it quickly. The weapon system has been working continuously for such a long time. If it is not allowed to rest, there will be big problems. Xia Xingchen stared at the screen. A celestial body appeared on the radar directly in front of the evil thought, 10,000 kilometers away. The central optical computer of the spacecraft marked it with the words extremely dangerous. It was a black hole. It is precisely because of the existence of this black hole that there are so few space debris in this space, because they are all being slowly sucked into the black hole and crushed into powder. A black hole is a celestial body with infinite density and infinitely small volume in the universe in modern general relativity. The gravitational force of a black hole is so strong that the escape velocity within the event horizon is greater than the speed of light. Therefore, black holes cannot be seen, because all light will be captured and absorbed by it. In 1916 AD, German astronomer Karl Schwarzschild calculated a vacuum solution to Einstein's gravitational field equations. This solution shows that, if a large amount of matter is concentrated at a point in space, strange phenomena will occur around it. That is, there is an interface around the particle, the horizon. Once it enters this interface, even light cannot escape. This incredible celestial body was named black hole by American physicist John Archibald Wheeler. A black hole is a celestial body with a space-time curvature so large that light cannot escape from its horizon, and even electromagnetic waves cannot escape. Black holes cannot be observed directly, but their existence and mass can be known indirectly, and their influence on other things can be observed. Information about the existence of black holes can be obtained by the edge information of nuclear gamma rays emitted by objects due to high heat before being sucked in. The existence of black holes can also be inferred by indirectly observing the orbits of stars or interstellar clouds to obtain their positions and masses. When a black hole dies, it may become a white hole. Unlike black holes that swallow all nearby matter, it ejects all matter captured by the black hole before. This change is often accompanied by a large amount of energy release and a dramatic change in the magnetic field and force field. The power of this huge change is even enough to tear the entire space apart. Thus, a wormhole is formed. Therefore, some people call black holes the mother of wormholes. Of course, the lifespan of a black hole is very long. With a human lifespan, it is difficult to have the opportunity to witness this astronomical wonder. There is a wormhole next to the black hole in front of the evil mind, which is a one-way wormhole. Chapter 300 Arrival at the Northern Empire. A wormhole is a passage to another parallel universe. But wormholes also exist in various forms. Some wormholes can be entered from one end and returned from the other end. Such wormholes are called bidirectional wormholes. For example, the wormholes connecting the major administrative regions of the Galactic Empire are bidirectional wormholes. Some wormholes can only be entered from one end, but not from the other end. Such wormholes are called one-way wormholes. The reasons for the emergence of one-way wormholes are very complicated. Some are incompletely developed during the formation of wormholes when the black hole collapses, and some are because there are stars or black holes at the other end of the wormhole. This is the case with the black hole in front of them. If the spacecraft in the north enters this wormhole, they may plunge into this black hole when they come out and be compressed into black hole particles with huge density and never think of coming out alive. However, Xia Xingchen didn't know there was a wormhole here. He asked Julian, "What should we do? Do we need to take a detour?" Julian smiled. "Of course there is no need to take a detour, Xingchen. On the contrary, we have to rush towards the black hole." Xia Xingchen was stunned. He still didn't understand what was going on. Perlo called up the star map of the local star region from the light computer of the spacecraft, and Xia Xingchen suddenly realized it after reading it. It turned out that there was a small wormhole on the back of the black hole. It was small and could only allow a small spacecraft to pass through. The exit direction of this wormhole was facing the black hole. If a spacecraft on the opposite side unfortunately entered this wormhole from another section, then when they came out of the other section of the wormhole, they would plunge into the black hole and be compressed into black hole particles. Are we going to use the gravity of the black hole to accelerate? Xia Xingchen had learned the captain's course, so he asked. Yes, everyone has secured their bodies and is ready to start the jump. Julian shouted. Several people in the cockpit fastened their seat belts, and Hugo also found a safety seat in the cockpit to secure himself. The evil thought adjusted its route and made a circular motion along the edge of the black hole. Gradually, they felt a clear force dragging the spacecraft towards the center of the black hole. Light energy shield on. Main engine power 98%. Julian saw the right time. The spacecraft shot out like an arrow, and everyone immediately felt a strong push on their backs. Only in this way, relying on the strong centrifugal force and gravity to counteract, the spacecraft will not be directly sucked into the black hole, and the spacecraft rushed to the entrance of the wormhole at high speed. An hour later, the picture in front of them suddenly changed, and they realized that they had entered another space. The spacecraft drove forward at high speed for several hours, and the picture in front of them changed again. They finally rushed out of the wormhole. Here is the Sakhalin starfield in the northern control area. At this time, Julian's physical and mental strength had reached the limit. He found a safe place, fixed the spacecraft on the asteroid again, turned off the engine, and turned on the Mirage system. Then Julian returned to the rest cabin and fell asleep. Perlo also went back to rest. Xia Xingchen and Keela were on duty here. Now they have entered the control range of the Northern Empire, and must be cautious. This time Julian rested for a whole day before recovering. Several people held a meeting, and started the next stage of action. In the entire Milky Way, if someone asks about the specialty of the Northern Administrative Region, or what is the most famous thing in the Northern Administrative Region, almost all male creatures will give only one answer. The North produces beautiful women, especially those blonde beauties with fair skin, hot bodies, cheerful and enthusiastic personalities, and charming people to death. Although human trafficking is illegal in the Galactic Empire, in fact, tens of millions of blonde beauties are sold to the Galactic Empire through illegal human trafficking every year. Now, in Siberia, the capital of the Northern Empire, there is a blonde beauty who is in extreme anxiety and depression. Nina Korovin is 19 years old this year. She comes from the Korovin family of the Northern Empire. Speaking of this Korovin family, it is the largest family in the north. Their family's power even exceeds that of Nicholas's northern royal family. The Korovin family has a history of thousands of years. Their family occupies 40% of the mineral resources of the Northern Empire, and has shares in almost all interstellar consortiums and large consortiums in the north. Even in northern heavy industries, their family has a 15% stake. In addition, they also have a large galaxy with 6 habitable planets centered on Korovin. This starfield named Korovin Galaxy is their family's fiefdom. Logically, such a large family should arouse Nicholas' suspicion. But in fact, Nicholas did not have any hostility towards the Korovin family. This is because the Korovin family has their own special philosophy of survival. The Korovin family has a nickname, called the marriage family. This family has relied on marriage to develop step by step into the first family in the Northern Empire for thousands of years. In the history of the Northern Administrative Region, their family actually accounted for more than 60 of the top 100 beauties in the North in the past 1000 years selected by relevant institutions and media. The Korovin family of the Northern Empire is the most powerful family in the Northern Empire. This family is jokingly called the intermarriage family, and the Korovin family is rich in top beauties. Nicholas' ancestors, 60% of the wives of the members of the Northern royal family came from the Korovin family, and every one of his ancestors must have a woman from the Korovin family in his concubine. Even Nicholas' mother came from this powerful family. In addition, each patriarch of the Korovin family has dozens of daughters, and the daughters of the rest of the Korovin family members are countless. These girls were forced to receive various aristocratic educations and cultural and artistic influences since childhood, as well as other skills that a qualified wife should master, and the best of them was selected to marry with the Northern royal family. The remaining girls married generals, senior officials and other nobles, big businessmen, big mine owners in the Northern government. In this way, they maintained a huge community of interest through nepotism. In order to avoid the problem of inbreeding among the Northern royal family, the Korovin family also took great pains. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.